It doesn't have to be an exact amount. Just say, you know, just fill the cup and put it in, and it'll be fine. It doesn't, you know, if you drink the whole thing, you get the same amount of medicine. Hello there. This is the February 2015 Tolkien Society broadcast of the meeting. However, we had a last-minute venue change, so I don't know if anyone's going to actually make it. The last minute, we moved it to my house, and I quickly set a few things up. But okay, this should be joining. I don't know who's going to actually make it or not. There's potentially between 2 to 5 people. Okay, see, now that's not what I want. I want this to join. And setting up new equipment and all of that, so of course, challenges. Let me know how the audio is. This microphone, I've got a new wireless microphone set up. And so I'm hoping it solves all of the background noise and vocal quality issues that we've had in the past. But we don't know until we've actually done this. Let's see. Join Hangout. All right, let's see if we can get this other one to connect. So some of the topics today. Okay, agree. Got it. Join. Oh, we're going to get some audio looping. Whoa. Sorry about that. So, okay, turn that off for now. Testing. Okay. Interesting. So some of the topics that, if people show up today, we will be covering. Now I think the other mics are picking up. Interesting. Okay, please stop the feedback. I was afraid of this. Where else are we? I started the broadcast. I'm getting an audio loop here. There we go. Welcome. I went ahead and started just to let people know we're here. Wherever you would like.
If I go in there, then I won't have to.
You'll be trapped.
I'll be trapped.
But you'll have a comfy chair. Although be warned, it does stink. So you'll be laid back.
Is this part of your role playing? Death therapy ball. It doesn't stink like the
Have a seat, either one.
Let me guess, this is from some kind of game where you're at very low heart level right now.
It's from Katie last night for our early Valentine's. So if you put in warm stuff, it actually fills up. It's actually temperature sensitive. And
there's a Valentine's gift for you.
Yeah. So, and it's also 8-bit, so geek humor. Right. Yeah. It's
make your throne to the Game of Thrones. Some goodies
oh, goodie.
I get lots of
okay. Why don't you go ahead and hook up your mics,
okay.
whatever way is comfortable. The wireless setup here, it all. See, I got a whole setup over here now. Yeah.
The Daleks have taken over. Hey, sorry, I won't try to get ahead of myself, but did you? I read ahead to letter 94.
No, I did not.
Okay. Anyway, there's some fun things coming up.
Oh, good.
We might get a little farther than that.
Should I turn it on?
Okay. You've got it after you get it all set up. Test the way you want it. Check. I definitely see you.
And
Okay, this is going to be the second meeting of our year,
Definitely working.
and I'm hoping that our online listeners, who don't have to worry about changing venues since it's always there,
Yeah.
I'm hoping we have some friends online who are going to be able to join us today. Although Hawk has positioned himself again, so he's not in the screen.
Well, there's another camera there too.
Oh, good. All right.
So if you look there, although I don't have it patched in yet, but you see it gets both sides.
Just to make sure people know we're not artificially keeping you
No,
alive or something.
no, I prefer to work behind this. So.
Yes.
The machinations behind the throne.
Yes.
Like the Wizard of Oz.
May no attention to the man
We're
behind the
keeping
curtain.
Hawk's head alive, but you can't see we've replaced his body with spare parts. He's the Tin Woodman,
Ghost in the Shell.
which actually has a connection with Valentine's Day as well.
We're just gonna
We're hopping.
take his brain, put it in a jar, and throw the rest away.
No.
Well,
that doesn't actually
easier
sound
to
very
fit you in a
pleasant.
car, you have to admit.
Yeah, but we can put you in an enemy tank that way.
Come on now, that's just wrong and unnatural. I would
Yeah.
like to see what are these cups here for?
In
Donation?
case you wanted some tea, a spot of tea or something.
Wow.
I was going to get some Earl Grey, but somebody drank all my Earl Grey. So I have mint and
It's those.
chamomile and stuff. You already have beverage, but
I would love.
would you like something?
I would.
What would
yes.
you like?
Just whatever you've got most of.
Mint?
Yeah, mint is actually one of my favorites.
Okay, great.
Thanks
Sorry,
so
I
much.
didn't mean to be rude. It just...
No, not at all. It's not rude.
You're not rude. He's just noting that I don't have a drink, and since he's got a cup.
Okay, so clip that onto something so you don't drop it, because these are cheap mics. They won't clip it on the back of the neck of your sweater if you want it. Yeah, in a pocket. You can just stick it in your pocket if you want. Oh, well, be careful with the antenna, but I think they're pretty flexible. All right, did you flip it on?
Yeah.
Oh, yep. You're picking up. Yeah, let me hear your sound check.
Woof woof.
Perfect. The audio quality is so much better. We've already done this with the Spartan show, and it A, picks up really well, and B, as far as we can tell, now we didn't get a chance to test it in the coffee shop, but as far as we can tell, it's pretty good noise canceling and stays in a small sphere.
That's right.
So,
Brendan, make lots of noise in the background.
well, I did a test with the TV
Oh,
while he
that's a good
listened,
idea.
and I walked closer. I had like the classical music cranked up on the TV, and he couldn't hear it until I was right next to the TV.
Really?
So
He
noise
could play a
canceling's
rock and
pretty
roll
good.
song for us, right?
But one of the things I'm hoping with the green screen, as I get the hang of it, which I don't have the hang of it yet, I'm still working on it, is that we can actually overlay stuff on the green screen once everything's set up. This is just temporary because my house is in construction.
No, you did a good job.
So-
I'm actually in some level of admiration here, considering what you've been able to throw together last minute. So,
Yeah, because we just found out yesterday afternoon that
by
Rocky
the way,
Bakery
you have
no
the
longer.
venue.
Yeah, Rocky Bakery no longer takes reservations.
Not like you were counting.
And they said because of Valentine's Day, it would be slammed.
Yeah,
So,
the bistro was actually pretty full.
yeah, it's Valentine's Day. I get that, but that was, that was
We
really
were
not
talking
cool
on the way in
last
that
minute.
maybe the station would be a good...
Service station is always slammed and noisy, and there's no quiet space, and it's
Really?
really echoey.
I thought it was
Pretty much,
less
especially-
echoey.
But I wonder
Anytime
what
there's
you've got
midterms or
now would be
finals.
better than 5 years ago when we were there last.
Well, I mean, at least with these, assuming, at least as far as noise, but the problem is you can't hear each other. See, I used to do multiple groups there, and we still do 2600 there. And if it's later in the evening or something, it's usually okay, but during the
This is
peak
the peak
hours,
time, isn't it?
yeah, it's...
Early
Yeah.
afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe the beginning half will be busy, and then towards the end it's slow. But
Yeah. Which is what it was at Petty Chow.
right, exactly. Let me get you your
Thank you, sir.
tea.
Do you want me to read the notes out while you're doing that?
please.
Okay.
Yes, that would be perfect.
Great. Hey, I work for tea, you know. Yourself with that while I'm reading the notes out.
Well, the problem is there's no real...
Don't start. It's Robert's Rules of Order, don't you know? Have to read the notes before the new business.
Well, that's better than Russia's Rules of Order.
Yeah. Russia's Rules of Order. Oh, that.
I read a little thing on that once.
So this is unofficial, right? So, but I think it's okay to say this on air. So interesting. I heard on NPR. So Vladimir Putin, obviously the head of state of Russia, he came and visited Egypt, and they had great fanfare for him, official visit to Cairo and everything, and it all looked very, very, very nice until we got to a concert or whatever, or they were playing the Russian national anthem, and the military band, the Egyptian military band, butchered it.
Oh.
And I thought it was like they weren't very good, but I've got a friend who's a band leader, and he said I could tell they were exactly on time with each other. They were intentionally playing badly for him. So I thought, oh wow, that's not sure which would be worse, to be in an Egyptian firing squad or a Russian firing squad.
I don't know. It depends on how deep the conspiracy goes.
And to make this even more interesting, a friend of mine I've lost touch with for years, I now find out that this chap who's a nice guy is now working for the NSA in Washington, D.C. So, interesting developments.
Why is this not showing up on YouTube? They're getting sneaky again about it, I think. That sucks.
So I was thinking of trying to take up streaming.
What's that?
I was thinking of trying to take up streaming.
Right. Is that a
That's like fishing.
statement, a question? What was that?
A little both.
Okay.
OBS.
Yeah, there's lots of free stuff.
Well, it seems to be. It's one of the recommended things from Twitch TV.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because you use Twitch a lot, don't you, Richard?
That's but only if it's gamer. They only allow that content
On Twitch.
So I was going to build a city that was set in my novel in Minecraft.
Okay.
So he wants to build a replica of his story setting.
Well, technically it would be the blueprint, not the replica.
Oh, okay.
Because they haven't really firmed anything up. But it would be a handy reference.
Right.
It's like somebody's trying to get me sugar and chocolate.
If you actually read your mail,
I did. I've been.
I guffaw in your general direction. Look at that. Look at the first column of that.
And then did you see I posted some topics after we get through the notes?
Oh, good. Yes, you did, actually.
So I have that.
Well, they know my name in England.
That's right. It's only a matter of minutes before the door. Somebody's knocking at the door.
Sending me more spam emails.
What are you looking for?
Well, oh no, that's taken up.
So you need
I'll go
power?
over there. No, I'm good.
Carefully.
Richard, without too much bother and the wires and everything, would you be able to?
Maybe.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Much obliged to you.
Oh, your phone.
Yeah, I've got the it's actually just a wireless device now, and I've got the letters of Tolkien on there. So, okay. Well, so Hawk, did you say we are broadcasting? Or
We are actually. We've been broadcasting since 1 o'clock.
Okay, well, let's get started.
Yes.
So that people
Yes.
who are joining us online can
Actually get content.
yeah, exactly. Yes, instead of just seeing us sitting here. I feel like this table needs like some card games and some visors and kind of one of those Star Trek Next Generation holodeck kind of.
Green lamp.
What's that?
The green lamp and Data playing cards.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's, Next
Actually,
Generation.
that's like from the 1920s.
Well,
Yeah, of course, but
okay, let's begin, and Hawk will be back directly. Actually, he can comment from the kitchen. I think he's got his. So we've got our new sound system
He was
set up.
coming through clearer from the computer than he was from the kitchen. That was kind of.
So one of the things we'd like to know is that if you're joining us out there, Artemir or others, do let us know how the sound quality is. We'd love to get some feedback from you. Okay, well, let's go ahead and begin the February 2015 meeting of the Tolkien Society of Spokane. Spokane Smeal of the Tolkien Society, which is based in the United Kingdom. Last meeting was January 10th, and Hawk, Richard, Brian were present, as well as a guest, Dave, and his daughter. And we also had a number of you online joining in. Our local Spokane Smeal had taken a hiatus of several months and is happily meeting once again, reforged, as they might say, reforged like Narsil of old. Here we raise our glass of Old Dorwinian to a vintage year of 2015, noting also the yearly acknowledgement of the professor's birthday this month. I should have said we raise our glass to 2014, but anyway. No notes exist for last August's meeting. So we're kind of playing catch up, and so now this is, we're back on track. We also wanted to mention we take this time as a, let's see, commercial announcement. Twix. It keeps you going.
Yeah, don't do that. We could.
Oh, yeah, right.
Get banned for that.
So that came through. See, I think when I muted my speakers, it actually muted the microphone too, which is lame.
Stay patient. We'll be back on in just a moment.
Oh, they're linked. They're not supposed to be linked. Yep, it linked them. All right. Well, your audio was okay. I was hoping to hear it through the stream, but I'll have to get on a set of headphones for that. Okay. Sorry about interrupting that. Okay.
No problem.
I was just making sure people could hear you.
Okay.
So you'll probably have to read not the whole thing, but just the previous line.
That's fine. I can summarize.
Great.
Okay. So our last meeting was in January of 2015, and we noted that we had taken a break for a few months, so now we're back on track. And we welcomed guests Dave Carlisle and his daughter Caroline. So hopefully they'll be back. And Hawk restated the purpose of the Tolkien Society threefold. Very nice. I love it. We're lagging a little bit on this, but that's fine.
That always lags.
Okay, always lags.
That's how the process
That's
works.
because
I feel like I
it's going
existed
around-
2 times.
This is real time, basically.
Got
This
it.
is what people see.
So the
basically going around the world
three
times.
purposes of the if I got this right, Hawk, to read notes from previous meetings and follow up on anything interesting from that, read a letter of Tolkien and discuss related issues that he brings up in his own letters, and then free range discussion on given topics. So attendees are encouraged to share their thoughts while respectfully listening to others' views. And then we went on to discuss Tolkien and Beowulf, his the recent published manuscript that Christopher Tolkien had published of his father, his translation, I believe, of Beowulf. So that was last month.
Right.
And then Dave remembered a Beowulf Star Trek episode, interesting tie-in.
Yes.
So we clarified that that was actually Harry Kim off of
From
Deep Space
or
Voyager.
Voyager, right? Star Trek
Voyager, Star
yep.
Trek Voyager. And so I have not seen the episode, but there is a Beowulf crossover there.
One nice thing about being here is all my books are here.
That's Yes, very true.
Indeed.
Beowulf, Tolkien's Beowulf, just translated in 2014. I mean, translated. Translated
from the grave. They did it
Is
through a
that good?
medium.
Okay, no. What I meant to say.
Handy time machine.
What I meant to say was that it translated during Tolkien's lifetime, but published in 2014 by his son Christopher. Of course, Tolkien, as we noted last month, has really, as it were, resurrected Beowulf from the grave of academia. Sorry, I had to put that in. Because it was very kind of a scholarly thing, really. Only scholars really read it. And Tolkien was arguing that,
anthropologists, linguists,
and the whole idea is, no, we need to bring this back to the
appreciate
people.
it as art,
Exactly. So that's why others.
not just some interesting snapshot of ancient historical culture or something.
Right, right. So that was again part of Tolkien's larger attempt to always bring attention to all things Anglo-Saxon that had been buried under Norman conquest and cultural, being obscured. So and then the end of the notes, basically I'm kind of in the middle, I guess. We discussed the third and final installment of New Line Cinema's Hobbit trilogy, The Battle of Five Armies. And then Hawk described the background of Other Minds magazine and its link between Middle-earth and role-playing. So we did talk about role-playing a little bit.
Right.
Hawk read Tolkien Letter 91 from November of 1944 and did describe how Tolkien was thinking of finishing the story of the One Ring. And he told his son Christopher that there would be a fight between the last Nazgul and Frodo and Sam on Mount Doom, or at least he was thinking about that. We're pretty sure Christopher told him that would be a bad idea, Dad, and so we can be grateful for that. The final scenes are also mentioned: Frodo's departure, Aragorn's reign, the elves gone. Didn't know what he would write about the Ents, and the quote from Tolkien was, "It will probably work out very differently from this plan when it really gets written, as the thing seems to write itself once I get going, as if the truth comes out then, only imperfectly glimpsed in the preliminary sketch." Richard commented on knowing that feeling when a story seems to have its own mind and write itself, as he's working on a piece of fiction currently. Dave talked about, he commented on how this made him think about how the conscious mind can step aside and creativity can finish a project instead of trying to analyze it to death. General discussion on that topic with references to martial arts, recreational therapy, and the idea of flow. I read Letter 92, and we also read a very profound of fantasy in the Monsters and Critics, the inner consistency of reality and relation of joy and fantasy. And this led to a discussion about Doctor Who and Lord of the Rings and how different generations perceive a particular attempt to render the secondary world which the fans love. Examples in Middle-earth are the old Rankin Bass version of The Hobbit and the newest film versions, a la Jackson. Examples in Doctor Who would be the early episodes from the 1960s and the new Who seasons since the start of the millennium with David Tennant, etc. Fan service is mentioned in anime context as an example of aiming at pleasing fans of a given show by giving them extra doses of what they like to keep them hooked. Thanks to CC, oh, that's Carolyn, for great participation and bringing a younger point of view. Next meeting's agenda will include reading Tolkien's Letter 93, and will be held here at the Rocket Bakery North, which was not to be. And we will
planned to be.
And we will consider the topic, and then I'm going to transition now to the topics that we're going to do. So this February meeting, so those are the notes from January.
Thank you very much, Brian.
You're welcome. And
as always.
Richard, did you want to read this part? It's not really part of the notes. It's more
is that an up to date?
It's it's the one you sent me.
It's a little updated since then.
You want to read that then?
I'll just read it.
And we can have Richard read the next.
So for today, we're intending to read and discuss Tolkien's Letter number 93. We need to discuss a new meeting location for future meetings,
which we will discuss after this.
Discuss plans and ideas for the upcoming Tolkien Moot 11 this summer, which, by the way, we finally stabilized Tolkien Moot to be the third weekend of July every year. So you can plan ahead.
Mark that on your calendar.
Instead of it moving around and shifting anywhere between June, July, and August on different weekends, We've stabilized it. The 3rd July, isn't too close to the 4th of July, isn't too close to the 24th. Typically, it varies. There's air shows and Spokon sometimes. Isn't too close to Spokon. I mean, so the 3rd weekend of July is the one that there's always something going on during the summer, but it seems to have less going on.
Right.
So that we picked that one, and people said they could attend it. And so that'll be Tolkien Mood 11 this summer. The theme is giants. That much is established, but we need to establish more than that. And we really, really want the general audience to make suggestions and participate. But we do have the theme of giants.
Choose your own adventure.
Which I have a whole collection of now for the traumatic brain injury patients down at
awesome.
St. Luke's.
Yeah.
It's
Plug
quite
that.
a walk.
Oh, can I just say something?
Memory lane.
Quick.
Please, pardon the fun.
Or we can come back to it.
Go ahead, please. Interject.
So this was a brain flash. One of my students. It was amazing. So we're talking about in 5th grade about in my classroom first point of view, first person point of view, etc. And third person. So distinguishing. Okay, what So you're writing and you're telling it from my point of view, and that's first person. And if you're writing about other people, as it were, then that's a third person point of view. And so one of my students said, well, what's second person then? Naturally. And I said, well, nobody really seems to write that, but the second person would be where you're referring to you, where I'm writing to you. I'm telling, it's not really about myself, but, be really about another person. That'd be the second person. And they said,
like a narrator?
No, because that would tend to be about a third person situation. But my students said, oh, like Choose Your Own Adventure. And I thought that's right, because in Choose Your Own Adventure, it's not written from the first person point of view. Neither is it written completely, because the whole time through, in a way, it is a narrator, but in a different way than normal, where the narrator is constantly telling you what you're doing. You choose page 34, you go there, and it says you're walking down a hallway, and you have fallen into a deep pit. And I thought, there's a role play, there's an RPG connection as well.
Zork.
Yeah.
I didn't really like those style of books, but
right.
That's because
even though I'm in the other end of the house, you can probably still hear me at this point.
Oh,
interesting.
I've never heard that before.
Well, it has to do with how fast I read.
Right.
I get a mental image of it in my head as a movie.
Okay. Hawk?
Yes?
I think you're still reading the agenda.
Oh, yeah, that.
Details.
One thing pushes out another, as they say. Well, but you were talking Choose Your Own Adventure, so. Oh, my goodness.
He's all right, everybody. Don't panic.
He's choosing.
There's lots of DVDs dropping, that's all. I'm uninjured. My poor DVDs, on the other hand.
Richard said he's choosing his own adventure.
Yeah. And that whole fiasco was mic'd. That wasn't in the distance.
One of the extra bonuses that you get off of meeting here at Hawk's house is that he has vast, unlimited information he can reach within his hands. Easy.
Some easier than others.
All right.
And I have the first set in the car, I think.
Can we show those?
Yeah, sure.
Ooh. I love this. I love the
but I have the
titles.
very first set in the car, which is The Abominable Snowman.
Side segue here. So you've got to look at these titles here. This is
Welcome Jeremiah Burns. He joined the chat. He made it. Woo!
Hey, welcome Jeremiah. And also we should say at this point that Jeremiah is now a full member of the Tolkien Society as of the last Amon Hen magazine. And also we should also mention at this point that Richard Baldwin is now full.
Welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, and that's found in Amon Hen 251 on the penultimate page where it says new members. Oh,
yeah.
There we are. Sorry, camera's up there.
Yeah. At one point, I'm planning to maybe stick camera overhead so that stuff will be right here.
I feel like I'm being watched.
Yes, you are. It's a lot more than Big Brother.
So Jeremiah, shout out to you, and hope that you stick with us for a little while. And meanwhile, here are the titles. So Choose Your Own Adventure. War with the Evil Power Master. Trouble on Planet Earth. Prisoner of the Ant People. I remember that one. And Lost on the Amazon.
There's about 60 of them now. Plus, they've made them for even younger audiences, a small group of them as well.
I want to see if you've got any of the Edward Packard ones.
See these?
The old ones. Oh, nice.
Well, they are.
This is an Edward Packard.
Yeah, these are the. Yeah,
that's one of the originals.
Right.
One of the older ones. I mean,
That
they
was
are actually
number
18.
46.
These aren't very high up.
No, these are number.
Okay,
I have them from number 1. It's just it's in the car. I
I
racked
love
them
the
up.
illustrations. Don't they just bring
Yeah.
it back?
Well, man, some of them they've re-enhanced, but yeah,
Have
they do.
Well, they look
And
nice
you know what?
and
They're actually holding up a little bit. I've skimmed through a little bit, and even though they're written for simpler, for 9 to 12-year-olds,
right.
they're still fun.
My 5th graders check them out occasionally. So choose your own adventure for a new generation, and the connection here, although albeit slim, was that choose your own adventure is related to RPG and therefore Tolkien.
And then with my work with trying to work with traumatic brain injury
Right.
patients and trying to help with neuroplasticity in the recovery process. So anyway, yeah, total tangent, but
So what else was on the agenda?
Okay. Whether we should green screen or add other features to future broadcasts to up our game, so to speak, to add additional interactivity and such and features if audience members would like that, or if they like this nice, simple. Let's see if it's someone trying to join us. Oh, it might be. Could you continue on, because this might be somebody trying to find us.
Yep. Okay, so.
This is Hawk.
And the next thing on Hawk, you need to disconnect your sound there.
Mike.
Your mic.
What do you mean? What RPG things?
Okay, so anyway, the next thing on our agenda is that we will be talking about the current status of Middle-earth's radio's audio and music streams.
Oh, crap.
What are the greatest love stories in Tolkien's Legendarium from your point of view, and what do you love about Middle-earth the most? It's all right. We're going to the loo.
You can't run away from the mic fast enough.
Walking away doesn't work when it's wireless and turned on. Somebody asked about RPG research, actually.
Oh,
I'm not interested, but it wasn't Tolkien Society.
now that you mention it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is
Where
the.
were
We finished it.
Okay,
So
great.
Convoluted
And this is from
significant.
my girlfriend, and the heart changes how much is black and red when there's, right now it's full of tea, so it's temperature based, but as the tea goes, then it empties, and it's an 8-bit, so
But it's not
geeky.
Minecraft, so it could be like on the side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are impossible objects. I have a mod for that.
Yeah.
All right. Now, it doesn't have to be in that order at all.
Absolutely.
Well, we could go ahead and start with letters, because that's the most...
Well, or should we delve into those topics, make sure we cover them, or are you fine with?
Well, some of them, if we really needed to talk about them off air, we could. So
okay, well then let's stick to our
letters first.
And we don't happen to
I think
have.
that's the audience is most interested in.
Are you
and then Tolkien mood as well?
Right. So, question.
Yes.
Are we kind of putting on a break this year the Elvish vocabulary, or do we plan to kind of?
Oh no,
It's up to
I
you.
forgot. No. That was my bad. That I totally forgot. We're still getting back into the
Which gives you
routine.
some more time out there to think about stories in The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings and Silmarillion. Love stories. What are the best? Would you consider Baron Luthien? Are you going to include some of the tragic ones, perhaps, like Turin Turambar, and that's an awkward situation there with his half sister. Kind of an Oedipus thing, but so that obviously would be on the list probably, but tragic nonetheless. Or perhaps you would count Arwen and Aragorn. What other stories? Oh, of course, we can't forget the great the elven maid. We're thinking of kind of the man and elf thing. We have Idril, Celebrimbor, and Tuor, who end up getting married. So let's see. There's 3, I think, elven and human marriages.
Actually, 2 of those lines are intertwined because
True.
Arwen and Aragorn are actually both from the same bloodline.
Exactly. So
Technically, she's marrying her cousin.
right. Of course, it doesn't have to be cross-species. I mean, it could be also maybe a human love story, such as found with Faramir and Eowyn, perhaps. The alliance between Rohan and Gondor. Or maybe you would look to something homespun and domestic, Sam and Rosie Cotton. Or would you prefer to think more along the lines of maybe elves, great elvish romances, perhaps, such as Celeborn and Galadriel, or the sad story of Dol Amroth, and was it Nimrodel, I think, the maid who got lost in the woods, and
Luthien Tenuviel.
and then Luthien too. Yes.
And then that's Baron and Luthien.
That's a different one. No,
Oh, different one. Oh,
I was thinking the one where where Amroth.
Oh yeah,
not
yeah.
Dol Amroth,
No,
but Amroth himself.
Right.
Karen Amroth is named after him, and he's the guy who was going to go west, but then he couldn't find his lady love, so he had to finally sail without her, and
Wasn't that the king of
through himself.
Mirkwood? Or
Nope.
Greenwood?
Nope. Yeah.
I thought he'd become the king of Greenwood.
Okay, sorry. Yes, there was a time when, in the southern part of, yes, before the shadow came, I think that it was either Mirkwood or actually, no, you know what it was? It was Lothlorien before Galadriel came there. It was ruled, so nearby.
Well, I'm thinking of the elf that was married to Maya.
Oh, yes. Oh, we can't forget that one. Good point, Richard.
Oh, right.
Thingol and Melian.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Doriath.
Oh, yeah. That's a
Oh,
great
yeah.
choice.
That's a huge
That's
impact,
probably
too.
the first, really.
Right. Well, and later Baron Luthien because of that change.
Well, yeah, because
Right.
and Luthien is
Because
the daughter
Luthien's
of
half
Thingol and
Maiar
Melian.
and half
Right.
By the way, Jeremy Burns points out, if you want to think outside of the box a bit, it's hard to beat the love shared between Sam and Frodo, really.
Right, because love is not only romance.
That's right.
There's incredible sacrifice and friendship, and so thank you, Jeremiah, for pointing that out.
Thank you, Katie.
Yes. So yes, we want to definitely acknowledge the fact that that truly there's some great friendships, and that isn't that what the whole idea of a fellowship's about?
Yes.
It's mutually
camaraderie. Well, because of his experience in the trenches, of course.
It really is.
There's nothing like going through
hardship.
life-threatening strife together and surviving it
Makes you throw out the little
to
stuff.
build a camaraderie and,
Right.
and really, find other ways to be connected, even if you normally would never have any connection.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. So that's good, actually, because it reminds us what Tolkien would think about love, and I think he would say that our culture is a bit obsessed with a very narrow definition of that, and he would see that definitely that fealty, loyalty, honor, sacrifice, things like that are really very considerable elements of that through the times, so centuries. Okay, so carry away. Start us off there.
Okay, so again, as we try to do, it hasn't been 100% consistent, but we do a word or three from the Vineyard Tengwar, and we start on the very front page of issue number 1, September 1988, which is all the different parts of the body. As you can see, there's a sketch there of apparently their version of an elf, and listing all the parts. And we've kind of started at the top and been working our way down. We've already covered Dol for head, and Hen for eye, and Lasse for ear, Roma for shoulder, and a few others.
Didn't
Some
do the
we
hand?
what
Didn't we
we've
do the
done
hand?
a little bit, but there's some others back at the top that we haven't covered. So let's look at for hair. It's Lokse, L-O-K-S-E, Lokse.
She's
Actually,
got the
sounds,
looks.
isn't that pretty close to the Latin?
Actually, I think it sounds closer to Finnish, but anyway, it could be. I don't know.
Is that
I
where
don't know
you get
what
the word
Latin
locks
is.
from?
Well, so then there, maybe I don't know.
Or I mean, wow.
I have no
I think I
idea.
just asked if we get it from Elvish. That's pretty bad.
He meant with the
anachronism.
Latin, but
No, you're right.
yeah. Then there's
Tolkien.
tress. The tress of your hair, tresses of your hair. Finde.
So the Elves had to. We don't really use tresses anymore.
It's not common for us, no.
So
but-
what is a tress anyway?
well, according to this, it's kind of where the hair drapes over
It's
off
the
to
long
the
part of
side.
the hair.
Yeah, exactly. That's where they
Not
show
the
it.
hair next to the
Right,
head.
that's saying where it drapes down behind long tresses.
I usually do
So-
hear that in reference to a woman as opposed to
Yeah,
a man.
Of course.
Yeah,
But it's interesting.
yeah,
Two different words.
indeed.
which is what Tolkien used.
Different parts of the hair, yes. So we have lokse for hair and finde for tress. And that's spelled L-O-K-S-E for lokse for hair and F-I-N-D-E, finde for tress. And while we're in the area, how about anta for face? A-N-T-A. Anta for face. Sign language for face. Pretty face.
So can anybody think of any Elvish place names or person names?
Because we ran into that with like Dol and
Sure.
Roma and all of those we've seen, and Hen for eye, of course. Anta, Lokse, or Finde. I can't think of anything for Lokse and Finde. Anta, I'm wondering.
Sounds like
That sounds a little familiar. But I can't place it.
Oh, in English we refer to
And
it
Jeremy
as names.
Myburn says our audio is, that's what I get for not looking. Thank you for,
Sorry.
no, I'm sorry. Jeremy Myburn says your audio is much better this time, guys.
I'm glad I was
Glad to hear it.
sweet.
Glad it was worth the whole wireless. Thank you for that. Luckily, it's just tea and water. Oh, I want to roll today.
Literally.
Hog's having multiple chooses on adventures today.
That's right. If you want to place your teacup close to the edge, turn to page 23. As we're playing, I said, if you want to put your teacup close to the edge of the table, turn to page 23.
Without looking, by the way. Like reading this direction, that was the problem. Without looking.
Jeremiah will relate.
And there was still a little bit of tea left.
Yeah, of course there, right? Anyway, so, which side note, Jeremiah, so I have to ask you, of course, if you're living in the Warrington area, so have you discovered Thai food tea or not? Oh, careful, Chris, don't sit on that.
I just spilled. Let me switch out.
We gotta switch chairs out.
In anticipation of your arrival, we coated the floor with tea.
So Jeremiah, just wondering if you prefer Thai food. That's my favorite, but or if you're kind of a PG tips guy, or is it Tetley? So anyway, over here, back in the States, so I have had a hard time finding Thai food. Tetley, a little bit easier to find. PG tips seems to be common here.
Would you like some mint tea?
I'm good.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
anyway, hey, you got a little bit of, you drank most of it.
Yeah, I did actually get most of it. So.
Very good. Well, thank you, Hawk, for reading from Vineyard Tengwar.
Yes, the very first volume, very first page. However, there's something else I wanted to mention just related to that because I noticed I had it, and I keep meaning to mention and forgetting. These work really well. They're really close.
All right.
So make sure you actually clip that somewhere because if they drop, they may not survive. This is the Art of Philology #1.
Geek out.
Since we're on the Vineyard Tengwar, I thought we'd throw this out there. Proceedings of the First International Conference on Oh, you know what? Art of Philology #1. Proceedings of the First International Conference on J.R.R. Tolkien's Invented Languages. Omentielva Minja, Stockholm, 2005, published by the Artist Society, 2007. And all I'm going to do is just list the table of contents, just in case people are curious. You can, I don't know if they're still selling these, but often they make these available because they're all self-published.
And that's philology, ladies and gentlemen, not phlebotomy. Okay, let's just keep this up.
Or philosophy, or
philosophy.
all right.
Welcome to,
What about falafel?
welcome
Yes.
to Chris Cooperstein, who's just joined us.
Welcome. Is he an official member yet of the Tolkien Society?
No.
Not yet.
Sorry.
Not yet a paid
Fresh
member. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, we
If
can
you
gift
don't
him
become
as
a
we've
member
done
of the
other.
Tolkien Society, turn to
No,
page
no.
43.
Everybody is welcome. Jeremiah Burns is answering your question. I'm familiar with Taifu, yes, but I don't drink it personally. I'm far too poncy. I drink Twinings and I drink Wittard, but lately my missus has been buying tea pigs, which has been good but expensive.
I think it's the way you put the tea in, isn't it? Into the cup. I'm not sure. Tea pigs. Elucidate,
Pigs,
Jeremiah.
tea pigs.
Well, I think it's a.
Is it in the little silver?
Yeah, you buy. I mean,
Because
it's
I
a
have
separate.
those.
It's a thing that you put in the
Okay,
cup.
right.
Um,
Interesting.
yeah.
So in the contents here, Petri Tika presented the Finnicization of Quenya. Then Nils Lennart Johannesson
Yeah.
covered Quenya, the Black Speech, and the Sonority Scale. Sonorous, yes.
Sonorous.
The different orcish, though. That's Latin-based. So that's from the Gamers series by Matt Vancil.
Am I getting there?
Yep.
Yep. It's a lot of fun. That's actually Journey Quest. But it's the same guy.
So,
Right.
contents here.
Then we had
Petri Tika presented the Finnicization of Quenya. Then Nils Lennart Johannesson
oh, somebody's got their it's picking up their audio.
covered Quenya, the Black Speech, and the
Tom. Welcome, Tom. It's creating.
The different orcish, though. That's Latin-based. So that's from the Gamers.
Tom, if you happen to have headphones, that would be
It's a lot of fun. That's actually Journey Quest.
to everybody. Oh, Jeremiah Burns muted him. Okay. You can chat to us, though. Good thinking, Jeremiah. All right. Suzanne, and I'm sorry if I slaughter these, Vedemo, Tolklangs in the Real World. That's Tolklangs. He was funny. Then we had Magnus Aber, an analysis of Dwarvish, including a Kuzdal glossary with references.
Say that 5 times fast.
Bertrand Bellet, Vowel Affection in Sindarin and Noldoran. And then Mons Bjorkman, The Scripts of Aman. And finally, they had Christopher Gilson, Namarie, and the Lexicon of Quenya. So something I actually have not yet read through this, and I've had it for years. It's pretty heady stuff. But
Yeah, it is.
not as
Philology
much
is the
as
study
this.
of languages.
Yes.
The first one that you read, the Finnicization of Quenya.
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 Doesn't that make for a full cycle? Because isn't Quenya based on Finnish?
Oh.
I don't know. I'm sure.
a great
I mean, I
question.
haven't read the article, so I
Well,
couldn't
that's what
tell you.
confused me because
No,
I thought it's based
yeah,
on Finnish.
that's what I thought. So
it'd
it'd be very interesting what his premise is in stating that.
Well, we'll have to do some research for next month, maybe.
The discovery of a Finnish grammar had a profound impact on Tolkien. It quite intoxicated me, and I gave up the attempt to invent an unrecorded Germanic language in my own language, or series of invented languages, became heavily Finnicized in phonetic pattern and structure. Thus was created Quenya, the Elf Latin of the High Elves.
He was a fanatic.
Oh, phonetic. Oh.
Phonetic or fanatic?
Phonetic.
Fanatic.
Fanatic?
Yeah. Don't beat the joke to death there.
I'm trying.
Okay.
Welcome, Tom. Oh, wait, he went. Did Tom go away? He went away because of the being muted. Sorry about that. Hopefully you can fix that.
Well, so maybe to make it more clear, so if you join in from online, we would love to have you if it's in the Google Hangout.
Yes.
But we just need you to have your sound muted.
Until you speak, and then you can unmute.
Right.
Unmute and unmute.
Right.
Just otherwise, it creates a feedback loop
Sure.
for you.
Sure. It's just because we're recording this.
Yeah, unless you have separate headphones and microphone or a headset, then it works fine. So,
Now, which electronic device is making that sound?
he's trying to help him.
All right.
Okay.
Got it.
Why am I getting all sorts of beeps?
Yeah, Tom, you are welcome to join back.
Oh, I see. It's switching. Okay. Close that. Interesting. Getting all these. All right. So.
Well, thank you. That's good. So, did you miss the Elvish word? He did.
He did.
Okay, so although
Right.
Chris and I may not need these words very often.
Yeah.
Because we were looking at the Elvish for hair.
and tresses.
And now this isn't fair because there's no. What's the Elvish word for beard? I mean,
Elves don't have
scratchy.
beards.
Well, whiskers.
No, surely they have.
There must
something.
be an Elvish word for beard.
He's got.
Although there aren't any Elvish.
They might.
Elves don't have
They might
beards.
Maybe it's
use
the same word for dwarf.
yeah, they might use the dwarven.
It's not on. It's not here. They have jaw and neck and teeth and nose.
Can we
and
call it jaw
throat.
hair?
Jaw.
What would be the 2 words for jaw hair?
Let's see. We have neck, throat. You
Okay,
want
call
jaw.
it jaw.
Jaw is either Nangua or anen.
Nangua lox or Nangua?
Nangua for jaw or anen.
Nangualox.
So
Nice,
and then
Nangua-lox,
and then
Chris.
so hair is luxa.
Luxa. Nangualoxa. I think it sounds great. I think we just invented the Elvish word for beard. Prove us wrong,
Well, and if
everybody.
it's a neck beard, because neck is yacht, so it'd be yacht luxa or luxa yacht.
We'll have to. I can't write that all down. We're gonna have to.
Círdan had a beard. What?
What?
Really?
Who?
The mariner?
Círdan the shipwright?
Oh,
The elven shipwright had a beard?
I didn't know that.
Huh. I don't recall that. Interesting.
Can you find us a source?
He
on
was
that?
notable for it.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, that's
Well,
good.
maybe
Thank
I
Yeah.
am. Maybe
Thanks
I
for
am
helping
in
us
that.
out. Yes. So,
He's like the only one. I'll find the source. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
so beard.
This is why I love the audience.
I know.
So helpful
Okay, Elvish.
for everybody.
Did they ever refer to Gandalf's beard?
Not anyway. So that's,
Okay.
let's move on.
Right. So the two words, Chris, were the luxe for hair, but also finde for tresses. So for long hair, since the elves typically wore long hair, they had a separate word for the long part that hung versus that hung. That hung.
Yeah.
Versus the hair would be kind of.
And so Tress was finde.
One cannot
Finde.
find the finde.
Richard has finde.
It has nothing to do with
I
me.
have
It's-
less. Chris has very
I
little.
just got mine chopped yesterday.
But
for
Chris
Valentine's.
wins on the Nangua Luxe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Combination.
Yeah.
Nangua Yacht Luxe. All right. Are we ready for letter 93?
Yes.
And Richard will be reading it.
Wonderful.
Dun, 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 dun.
With expression.
I went to college. I can't read anymore.
They can send me to college, but they can't make me think.
Letter 93. 93 from Letter to Christopher Tolkien, 24th of December, 1944, FS 70. I am glad, I'm assuming that's very glad, that you enjoyed the next 3 chapters of The Ring. Third consignment scheduled to reach you about December 10th and the last on the 14th of January. I shall be eager for more comments when you have time. Certainly, Sam is the most closely drawn character, the successor to Bilbo of the first book, the genuine hobbit. Frodo is not so interesting because he has to be high-minded and has, as it were, a vocation. The book will probably end up with Sam. Frodo will naturally become too ennobled and rarefied by achievement of the Great Quest, and will pass west with all the great figures. Oh, so he was planning that far back
Mm.
to send him over the horizon. The Sam will settle down to the Shire and the gardens and the inns. C. Williams, who's reading it all, says the great thing is that its center is not in strife and war and heroism, though they are understood and depicted, but in freedom, peace, ordinary life, and good liking. Yet he agrees these very things require the existence of a great world outside the Shire, lest they should grow stale by custom and turn into the humdrum. By the way, you wrote Harbel and amended it to Hairbell. I don't know whether it will interest you, but I looked up the whole matter of this name once, after an argument with a dogmatic scientist. It is plain, A, that the ancient name Hairbell, an animal name like so many old flower names, and B, that this means hyacinth, not Campanula, bluebell. Not so old a name as it was coined for the Campalula, and the bluebells of Scotland are, of course, not the hyacinths, but the Campulas. The transference of the name in England, not in Scotland, nor indeed in the uncorrupted country speech in parts of England, and its fictitious alteration Hairbell, seems to be due to ignorant of etymology and meddlesome book botanists of recent times, of the sort that
Sounds like Victor Hugo regarding French in Les
foxglove or
Miserables.
foxglove, by whom we've been led astray. As for the latter, the only pan of the name that is doubtful is the grove, not the fox.
I think it should be
glove.
part of the name. It's just it's an OCR typographical error.
Optical character recognition.
Fox's glypha, occurs in Anglo-Saxon, but also in the form of something I can't pronounce.
At least spell it out or something.
Cloifa, C-O has an accent mark, F-A.
Okay.
In old herbals, where it seems pretty rashly applied to plants with big, broad leaves, e.g. burdock, also called fox's cleaf, C.F. Clearwith, Clifwyrt, equals foxglove, apparently. The causes of these ancient associations with animals are little known or understood. Perhaps they sometimes depend on lost beast fables. It would be tempting to try and make some fables to fit the names. Are you still inventing names for the nameless flowers you meet? If so, remember that the old names are not always descriptive, but often mysterious. My best inventions in Elvish, the Gnomish dialect, he later changed that to Noldor and dropped the Gnomish concept completely, were Eleanor and Nefrido. Though I like the AS...
Anglo-Saxon.
Oh, Anglo-Saxon Symbolimi.
Symbolmine.
Symblmyne, and the E has an umlaut on top of it. Or Evermine, found on the Great Mountain of Rohan. I think I shall have to invent some more for Sam's garden at the end. Since Silithian equals cleave stick, it is plain that fox's cleef and Clifwyrt originally equals burdock. Cloifa is probably an MS error for Gloifa through the mixing of names.
Thanks, Richard.
That was a difficult one to wait through.
So let's take letter 93 and walk through it a little bit.
Parse through.
Yep, that's right. Good use of the word parse. The first section or paragraph, Tolkien is talking about the next 3 chapters of the Ring. So where does he seem to be located at in terms of the story and what he's writing right now?
The Shire.
Well, he's thinking about the basic motivations of the characters. Bilbo is a different type of character than Frodo. Frodo is more like an adventurer, and Bilbo Samwise is more like a colorful NPC. Sorry, I've been watching an anime called Log Horizon, and it's talking about people who get trapped in a game, and one of the issues they're facing is the difference between an NPC and a player.
Yeah, I think I've seen that with Brennan and such. So is this the first season or the second one? The
second
first season. Okay, so the second season where the first season everybody
I saw
dying.
I saw the
second
first
season.
season.
Now it's more convoluted. Yeah, I've been seeing it both.
The dichotomy of what he's talking about is kind of what pops to mind, because Frodo is thinking about completely different things from Sam. Sam is thinking about normal life in the Shire, the routine, the things that are. He has a very small horizon, whereas Frodo has a very large, macroized view of the world.
Right.
Because of his father, maybe.
Or his uncle, or his,
Uncle, yes.
What
Bilbo was his uncle.
Yeah, his uncle, yeah, because of
His
Bilbo,
uncle,
yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess I'm wondering, going back to letter 91, he refers to having sent Christopher, his son, the chapters at the end of the 4th book of that great romance, in which you will see that, as is all too easy, I've got the hero into such a fix that not even an author will be able to extricate him without labor and difficulty. And he actually names these chapters in letter 91. He says that he had sent to his son Herbs and Stewed Rabbit, Faramir, and the Forbidden Pool, and then 2 last ones, Journey to the Crossroads and the Stairs of Cirith Ungol. So it seems like in this letter, if he just basically sent him, I think before this letter, all that Christopher would have had is up to Shelob's lair. Is that right?
It's actually directional, so if it points towards your head. It sounds better.
Yeah, so sorry about that. So I think I don't have a copy right in front of me of the Two Towers.
Much better.
Well, you do have to remember that the final version that we have is not the initial
Right.
draft that he wrote.
Especially considering the fact that he was telling two different stories, one from Sam and Frodo's situation, and then one would be everybody else.
Right. It sounds like to me he's still writing the initial draft.
Except that he says the end of the fourth book, which, if you remember, the three books that we think of, each of them is actually split into two. He really wanted to be published as 6 books, but because of the wartime, because of the, should say, post-war England, there wasn't as much. They weren't able to publish.
There we go.
How's that?
They weren't able to publish them separately. So books 3 and 4 comprise the Two Towers, whereas books 5 and 6 comprise the Return of the King. So I think what he's referring to in chapter 93, and I'd like to see what you guys think, keeping in mind what Richard said, it's true in terms of final, but he mentions the next 3 chapters of The Ring. He mentions Sam, he mentions Frodo, and the book will probably end up with Sam. Frodo will naturally become too ennobled and rarefied by the achievement of the great quest, will pass west. Is he, at this point, do you think, I mean, he's kind of talking about what he's going to do, but these chapters he's just in Christopher, do you think they are just talking about maybe the Tower of Cirith Ungol, which is actually book 6? It's the next part. It'd be about the time where he's going into Shelob's lair and then he gets caught and put up into the tower, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
So Jeremiah has been commenting quite a bit throughout this.
Go ahead.
First, earlier, the Círdan's beard reference.
Right?
As they came to the gates, Círdan the shipwright came forth to greet them. Very tall he was, and his beard was long, and he was gray and old, save that his eyes were keen as stars. And he looked at them and bowed and said, "All is now ready. The Return of the King, the Grey Havens, Círdan's beard." And the Return of the King, even.
So that's
well done, Jeremiah, and the Return of the King.
The Return of the King,
when they
Grey
get to
Havens.
Grey Havens. Yeah, nicely done, Jeremiah. And then also he comments, Bilbo, during his adventure with the dwarves, kept going back to thinking of bacon and eggs in his kettle beginning to sing. Sam keeps thinking of the simple pleasures of the Shire as well, his gardening and his old gather.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that letter number 93 mentions Frodo becoming too ennobled and rarefied. But that, I think, changed. Frodo didn't become too ennobled. In fact, there's a passage somewhere about Sam being upset that nobody recognizes Frodo's contributions. Frodo left not because he was too ennobled, but because he was broken beyond repair. I agree.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Jeremiah. As he says, there's some things that time can't heal.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably, this is kind of like the blueprint of what he's intending to do to the character. The result is the same. The reason is slightly different because it flows out from the story that developed.
Mm-hmm. Glad that Jackson didn't read this letter.
I think also maybe what Tolkien had in mind when he says, I think I'm going to make this character Sam a lot more like Bilbo and Frodo, because Frodo's going to be a different sort of hobbit. I think what he's thinking of when he says rarefied and ennobled there is actually not so much taking credit for his being kind of strong and charismatic, but I think it has more to do with the fact that in Tolkien's worldview, Frodo has made the greatest sacrifice, and therefore is the least in touch with this world, so to speak, and therefore more fitting that he should go on to the west. Whereas Sam, you can see Sam settling down back in the Shire, whereas Frodo, you feel like, how does he fit?
Yeah, he's forever,
he just doesn't seem to fit at all. He's forever, he is changed. So I think all the comments are true.
Well,
but I would just say that it's because he's been fundamentally changed, and therefore, whereas Sam was able to both participate in the quest of destroying the ring, but he's able to return and become who he was.
I'm thinking that he's almost subconsciously addressing the veteran, what we call PTSD.
Right.
Shell-shocked.
Which is very relevant to the times that they're going through.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe
Um,
Tolkien himself experienced some of that.
and his son and himself also experiencing some of the same things.
That is so cool.
And if you read the next sentence, C. Williams, reading all, says the great thing in it that in its center is not in strife and war and heroism, but in freedom, peace, ordinary life, and good liking.
Amen. Which is not understood by most modern audiences, because I think we tend to...
We've been very protected.
We've been very protected. So where do we get our excitement? There's this thrill of entertainment in watching epic battle
gladiatorial combat.
But if you live through a war,
through role playing,
what do you imagine? You want to imagine getting back to normal life, the peace of ordinary things, a hobbit in his garden.
I've had some thoughts about shell shock and PTSD, but I'm not sure if this is an appropriate venue.
If it's brief, go ahead.
Well, it's Christian in origin. The inherently, war is the act of killing another person, and I think that the act of doing that, superficially, it just kills the other person and you survive. But I think that it scars your soul to do that, to kill another human being, and that PTSD is an expression of that
kind of struggle inside.
It's an expression of the scars that are generated by aggressive warmongering kind of thing.
Which would go along with, like, say, American Sniper, or some of the movies that have come out.
I'm kind of trying to skirt the edge of what's appropriate and what isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a point we could definitely note and respect. I think there's definitely some truth to that. Well, there's a lot here, and I think we probably one could spend a long time looking at what Chris referred to.
And before you go on, there's more comments from
please go ahead.
Jeremiah and such.
Yeah.
He also commented. Just briefly said, yes, exactly right. Blueprint is a great way to put it. Somebody commented on, made a comment including the term blueprint. So,
I think that was me.
yeah.
Okay. So, is there anything else from letter 93? He talked about flowers a lot.
Did he have a garden?
Yes. He talks about it in the
Did he
next
spend
letter.
lots of time in it?
He tried to. It's in the next letter.
And so here he is warring with his books and his students and the war. And he just wants to be in his garden.
I think so. So Sam is like, Bilbo is like...
And then, of course, when he later writes about the tree in
perhaps.
his neighbor's yard that is cut down for being old and big and harboring the owls. That was in my old Tolkien and Trees essay.
Can I just point out that the flowers that he mentions, this is a constant reminder that the words that we've inherited from past ages, they didn't come out of nowhere, of a vacuum, and they're very interesting. And so he's pointing out that the common names we have. I mean, I didn't know that foxglove actually goes back to Anglo-Saxon, that's its origin. So it's interesting to see, and that it has nothing to do with gloves, which is true, because a lot of times when you have a word that gets repeated over and over, it might have a foreign origin. We tend to kind of move it into a word that's easier to understand. Like the guy who comes to Ellis Island and they say, "Oh, okay, Smith."
Over time, a word will shift from being descriptive to being nomenclature, where the meaning is lost, but the word becomes something itself.
It's the sound almost that we carry on rather than the meaning.
Yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean? Kupferstein.
Yes.
Versus Cooperstein.
Right.
Or Bergman, which is German for mountain man.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Bergman.
English.
Bergman.
English.
Burger. Burger. The old animation Christmas thing.
Oh,
I have lots of
one of my
trouble.
favorites is Panzer Tank. But you're saying
redundant tank.
You're just saying tank.
You have lots of trouble with what? That's a good observation. Yeah.
I just have lots of trouble with the concept that, one, we don't look at some of the history, the appropriate application of history to figure out, oh, that's what that means, but also the concept that history has a hand in changing who we are by changing our names and the objects of the things that are around us. And we, because of the way it's accepted throughout our society, can't really do anything about it. We can't change what those words are. We're stuck.
If we're going to be understood, we start to use the parlance of others.
Yes.
Yeah, we can try to go against it. There's a lot of words that are disappearing in English that I wish we would keep.
Actually,
And,
prodigal is a good example of that.
Yeah, exactly.
The meaning of prodigal, the original meaning of prodigal is extravagantly generous. And culture has turned it into the wayward son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. Prodigious means,
oh, that's true.
you know,
Yeah.
so it really has more to do
Interesting.
with the father's attitude towards the son, that he gives him so much.
Okay.
He's
Right.
so generous.
Interesting.
And that the son probably didn't just spend it on loose living, but was extravagant in giving towards others as
Right.
well.
It's what you extravagantly give towards, right?
Interesting.
Yes.
It kind of blew me away when I just
Yeah, it's a very cool thing.
Yeah.
Hawk, you were going to say something.
That part already slipped, but I'll go ahead and just.
Sorry.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Jeremiah Burns says, do love the fact that Tolkien noted in the letter that Chris had changed Harebell to Harebell, H-A-R-E-B-E-L-L to H-A-I-R-B-E-L-L, and just had to look into the matter. Couldn't just let it lie.
Classic Tolkien.
Oh,
Isn't it? Classic
Well,
Tolkien.
as an OED person,
Yes,
he
no
probably
kidding.
had.
Where's
Well,
the
and-
OCD?
And when he does that, it reminds me of, I read the unabridged version of Les Miserables by Victor Hugo,
Mm-hmm.
which is very, very
Very
long.
long.
And of course, he goes off on all these tangents about the French language and the bastardization of it and the mutation of it and the pure form versus the.
Worse than Tolkien.
Yeah, because he did it in the story, right? He goes, at least he's doing it in a letter to his son. He doesn't do it in Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit or anything like that. But there, his comments were very much along the lines of Victor Hugo's comments about, in the pure form of French, and here it's been bastardized and permutated and changed, and so I thought that was entertaining.
It is.
I wonder, if he had written any contemporary works, that were the way Les Miserables was, commentary on the time period, if Tolkien wouldn't have been able to resist doing that with all his linguistic knowledge. He could have expounded many volumes just on those tangents. He would have had the unabridged 2,000-page version of the story and the 150-page version abridged without all the tangents.
Yes.
He could have just chopped it apart and done one as a lecture and the other as a story.
Well,
Yeah.
isn't that almost
That was being funny.
some of the things that
And
we
Beowulf.
are getting now?
Right, yeah, a lot of his stuff out, yeah,
He-
exactly.
He had.
Oh, yeah, he
he
had an
just-
opinion.
He just had editors that
Right.
kept all
Didn't
the
let
sides
him. That's
out.
true. 13 years for the Lord of the Rings.
So shall we go on to
All right.
letter 94?
Certainly.
Chris, did you want to have
Yeah.
a go? Since
All
you
right.
haven't read anything yet?
28 December 1944, FS71. My dearest. This is letter 94 to Christopher Tolkien. You have no need to reproach yourself. We are getting lots of letters from you, and very quickly. I am glad that the third lot of Ring arrived to date, and that you liked it, although it seems to have added to your homesickness. It just shows the difference between life and literature for anyone who found himself actually on the stairs of Cirith Ungol, who wished to exchange it for almost any other place in the world, save Mordor itself. But if Lit teaches us anything at all, it is this, that we have in us an eternal element free from care and fear, which can survey the things in life we call evil with serenity. That is, not without appreciating their quality, but without any disturbance of our spiritual equilibrium. Not in this same way, but in some such way, we shall all doubtless survey our own story, when we know it, and a great deal more of the whole story, capitaled. I am afraid that the next 2 chapters won't come for some time, about the middle of January, which is a pity, and are only
As not.
as not only are they, I think, very moving and exciting, but Sam has some interesting comments on the related story, relationship of stories and actual adventures. But I count it a triumph that these 2 chapters, which I do not think as good as the rest of Book 4, could distract you from the noise of the aircrew room.
Apparently that's why he reproached himself.
The weather has, for me, been one of the chief events of Christmas. It froze hard with a heavy fog, and so we have had displays of hoarfrost such as I only remember once in Oxford before, in the other house, I think, and only twice before in my life. One of the most lovely events of northern nature. We woke late on St. Stephen's Day to find all our windows opaque, painted over with frost patterns, and outside a dim, misty world, all white, but with light jewelry of rime, every cobweb a little lace net, even the old fowl's tent a diamond-patterned pavilion. I spent the day after chores, that is, from about 11:30, as I got up late, out of doors, well wrapped up in old rags, hewing old brambles and making a fire, the smoke of which rose in a still unmoving column straight up into the fog roof. The rime was yesterday even thicker and more fantastic. When a gleam of sun about 11 got through, it was breathtakingly beautiful. Trees like motionless fountains of white, branching spray against a golden light, and high overhead a pale, translucent blue. It did not melt. About 11 p.m., the fog cleared, and a high round moon lit the whole scene with a deadly white light, a vision of some other world or time. It was so still that I stood in my garden, hatless and uncloaked, without a shiver, though there must have been many degrees of frost. Mr. Eden, in the house the other day, expressed pain at the occurrences of Greece, the home of democracy. Is he ignorant or insincere?
Demokratia.
Demokratia was not in Greek a word of approval, but was nearly equivalent to mob rule. And he neglected to note that Greek philosophers, and far more is Greece the home of philosophy, did not approve of it. And the great Greek states, especially Athens, at this time of its high and something and power, were rather dictatorships, if they were not military monarchies like Sparta. And modern Greece has little connection with the ancient Hellas. Hellas
was the name of Greece.
Okay, I was thinking Hellenistic, probably.
Well, that's
where
what it's named. That's
from.
As
we have with Britain before Julius Agricola, your own father.
So Julius Agricola,
Julius
was
Caesar.
he the founder of Coca-Cola?
Right.
That's the Coca-Cola farm, Agricola.
Well, you learn something new every day.
Every day. This is quite full.
I had a couple of thoughts.
Should we start from the top?
Can I throw in Jeremiah's comments?
Yes, sure. Do that now.
Or the process. Note the spelling of Kirith with a K.
Yeah.
Can anyone recall the reference to the debate between Tolkien and Chris regarding whether to go with K or C? I want to say it was Chris who told Tolkien that if he used C, nobody would pronounce it correctly. But it might have been the other way around. Never mind, found it. I'm jumping ahead, but it's letter 187. inconsistencies of spelling are due to me. It was only in the last stages that, in spite of my son's protests, he still holds that no one will ever pronounce Kirith right. It appears as Kirith with a K in his map, as formerly also in the text. I decided to be consistent, in quotes, and spell Elvish names and words throughout without K. There are no doubt other variations. So
He's right. I never pronounce it correctly because I see the C and want to pronounce it as
Celebrimbor
a
and all of that.
Cirith.
Celeborn.
Yeah, I want to pronounce it as an S.
Because of that funny little rule in English.
I before
If the
C,
C-
except after C, and
If the C is, well, it's actually even simpler, because if the C is followed by the vowels I or the vowels E, it will be a soft C. But if it's followed by A, O, or U, it's a hard C. But the problem is that,
Nobody remembers the rule.
well, right, and this is why people say the Boston Celtics,
Right.
even though
Should be
they're not the
Celtics.
Celtics, it's the Celtics.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, Christopher had a point. The problem is, I think, isn't Tolkien being a purist here in saying,
No, it's ignorance. It's general ignorance. Ignorant fertile folk.
well, I think really, anybody would mispronounce it until they find out
Mm-hmm.
the way it's supposed to be pronounced.
Well, anybody who had a classical education,
Right.
that would be drummed into them.
Which
Well, to me-
my kid is getting at the Oaks.
Mhm.
To me, Cirith Ungol rolls off the tongue better than Kirith.
Well, that's
I'm not sure why.
So
but-
I wonder with the I though that would be problematic. Then.
That's the reason why.
Yeah, right.
That's
Yeah,
why
just
people
the
think it's a soft C,
consistency, right.
And
because
that's why
we got it from
Yeah.
some language. I'm not sure which language we got
French.
that from.
Probably.
Probably French. Yeah.
Blame everything on French.
What is it? What did you say?
All the bad things come from the French.
But it is usually anti.
Francophile. Or
Frank-
Franco.
Francophobic.
Francophobic.
He's a francophobe.
I took
Hey, Brendan, francophobe.
I took French in college.
What? And proud of it.
Hey, do you want a Snickers or a Twix?
Get a little snacks up here.
proud feet.
I took
Proud feet.
I took
Brendan,
French
you want one?
in college, and one of the things that annoyed me is they have these silent letters on the
Mm.
end of almost every
I
word.
could almost hit you with one.
Frankenstein
Trees,
or
anyway.
Frankenstein.
Ow. Okay, thank you, Jeremiah.
Whereas German pronounces every letter.
Oh, he has more. I decided to be consistent and spell Elvish names and words throughout without K. There are no doubt other variations, letter 187. I also used to say Celeborn instead of Celeborn.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean,
We've
I
all
think
done that.
If you mispronounce things, it's just natural when you're acquainting yourself with something. But
Yeah, well,
the main-
especially something that's other languages.
Exactly. But like any language you're taking up, is taking that time to learn, okay, so how do they say things differently?
So, what was the Finnish version of that? K and C rule.
I don't know. I don't have my Finnish.
Because
Research.
that might inform it a little.
Kuljarvo and all of that.
Yeah.
Finnish isn't related to Romance languages, is it?
No. It's
Which
part of
is-
the Finno-Ugric family.
Right. So
which is
French,
totally irrelevant.
German, English are all Romance language
Right.
branch.
Mm-hmm.
So the rule of K versus
Largest Germanic language on the planet.
He's a huge pro
Yeah.
German everything.
German is not. So Spanish, French, and Italian would be Romance languages.
Yeah, and German.
Germanic is not. Yes,
But it's been influenced by it.
it has. It
I
has
thought
things.
they
Why don't you
were-
come join the conversation, Brennan? He's busy playing a shooter game. Okay.
I thought German was.
Disembodied voice. Thank you.
I thought German
the
was
peanut
from the
gallery.
same root, though.
What?
I thought German was from the same root, but
Yeah,
no, that doesn't make
well,
sense.
in-
Kind of
Indo-European.
the Latin.
No, because
European.
German was the language spoke by the barbarians that invaded Rome. In
Yeah, but that's different than Gaul, which is where the Franks were, which is where. So
And the term barbarian is
remember too.
a better perspective.
So Romance
I think that
languages
was Chinese and
derives from the Romans. So Latin, essentially. Where did they conquer? They conquered Gaul. And they didn't conquer all the
they
barbarians.
absorbed Germany.
Well, they didn't actually. They only got as far as
Well, they
You just
absorbed
have
it
to
by
look at the language chart.
going the
Yeah.
other direction.
Anyway, we're getting off topic.
Welcome, Tom. Welcome. He made it back.
Oh, good. Hi, Tom.
And Jeremiah, you said that's a good question. Yay, Tom's back. So you as far as the finish thing, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
Tom Hillman says hello.
Well,
I had a couple thoughts.
yeah.
When he's mentioning adventure, the difference between stories and adventure, I've heard a definition of adventure as somebody far, far away in deep, deep yogurt.
Yogurt?
That's the PG term.
Oh, okay.
Doo-doo? Yeah, substitute a different
I am
term.
allowed to use that word at work.
Sorry, to make this a little bit more clear. Chris works for the city of Spokane for the sanitation department.
The wastewater treatment plant.
The wastewater treatment plant.
And it is an allowed word because it is true.
Chris, does the yogurt
That's
flow
no
down?
crap either.
Does the yogurt flow downhill? There.
What did you do, Dr. Frankenstein?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try to rein it back in. Okay, so
You were saying.
Get back to this
Well,
serious side of what you're
that
saying.
was pretty much it. The other thing is, I gave Ryan a ride here, and on the car we were discussing the movie 300 and how it was a horrible example of ancient tactics, and also
Like a horrible example of not showing ancient tactics.
a horrible example of showing ancient battles. Because the
Incorrect.
things that the Spartans did would have gotten them just slaughtered instantly in that movie. The things that the actors did in portraying a battle would have ended the battle.
What was the reference to Sparta that he gave?
He was talking about a monarchy, and one
Oh.
of the little-known facts is that little recognized facts is that the Spartans had a dual monarchy. They had two kings. One stayed in the city, and the other went to war.
Interesting. That would save a lot of political upheaval. The guy who goes off to war gets killed. No problem.
We have a spare.
Well, if he gets killed. Otherwise, he comes back a hero. And...
Well, apparently.
Well, then we
shared
just
power.
have to wait for the next war.
Yeah.
Well, I thought this was very timely, considering now that Greece has the new socialist government, and they're saying we're not going to pay our debt, that everybody gave them to get them through the hard times, but they're saying we still, all the mob is still saying, but we want all our benefits, even though we have no way to pay for them, and all this money was from Germany and elsewhere, and we don't want to have to pay that back, and it's just not fair. And the mob, and so the new socialist government that got voted by the mob is threatening to completely renege on all their deals that got them through the last few years.
And this issue threatens to decouple the entire European
Union
currency.
Yeah.
Because Germany will go, well, they're not going to pay us, we're done.
Yeah.
Because the problem is it sets a precedent for all the other places,
Well,
Ireland
they're trying
and
to
elsewhere, that they
bail
put
out
money
Ukraine.
out.
Exactly.
Yeah, they bailed out so many,
Mm-hmm.
and it could bankrupt Germany not to get paid back.
Yeah.
And
No, they have a right to be paid back.
Oh,
So
yeah.
come on, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's also the Treaty of Versailles. I mean, Germany just finished paying off reparations from the Treaty of Versailles.
No, I think you mean the Marshall Plan, don't you?
Mhm.
World War One.
Hey, Brennan,
One.
you could comment on this.
I thought that
Yeah, no, the Treaty of Versailles paid off a long time ago.
No,
it was.
The plan is correct.
it was like
Yeah.
the end of the millennium is when
Well,
they finished the.
You're right,
last
Richard,
payment.
that they just finished recently paying off something, but I don't think it was the Treaty of Versailles.
My point is the European community made them pay that debt,
Right.
and now the European community is saying, well, now that it's reversed, we're not going
Right.
to pay you.
So the main substance of your argument is a good one, and that is because they shouldn't have to do it again. I totally agree with you.
Well, and yeah, for others. Yeah.
Well, I can see why Germany would be really upset about that. I mean,
Well, they've
It's like-
recovered their economy
well, we
over the
had
last
to-
50 years, yeah.
we had to pay it, but
First-
when it's reversed, you don't have to pay it.
Yeah, look at Germany's shoes. First, they paid World War I and World War II after debasing their currency. Then they paid their
Second. Debts or
their debts towards the U.S.
right.
Then
That's
they're
what just got
paying,
paid off, I think.
then they're issuing new debt towards.
Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead. What is it?
So from Spiegel Online, this is on ABC
Der
News,
Spiegel.
September 29th, 2010. Germany will make its last reparations payment for World War I on October 3rd, 2010. setting its outstanding debt from the 1919 Versailles Treaty,
Oh my goodness.
and quietly closing the final chapter of the conflict that shaped the 20th century. October 3rd, the 20th anniversary of German unification will also mark the completion of the final chapter. End of reparations 92 years after the country's defeat.
That's a whole nother meeting, but
Yeah,
I
2010.
can't get why that was still binding after World War II when that was actually referring to World War I.
It's the last of the interest on foreign bonds it issued in 1924 and 1930 to raise cash to fulfill the enormous reparations demands the victorious Allies made after World War I.
I guess it shows you that bills don't go away.
Bankrupted
Germany
in the 20s.
was held responsible for 92 years.
It
and
was
now the people that they've loaned money to are saying that doesn't apply to us.
the sum was initially set at 269 billion gold marks, around 96,000 tons of gold, before being reduced to 112 billion gold marks by 1929, payable over 59 period for 9 years.
59 years.
Germany suspended annual payments in 1931 during the global financial crisis.
Right.
Fair enough.
And Adolf Hitler, unsurprisingly, declined to resume them when we came to power in 33.
What a shocker.
In 53, West Germany agreed an international conference in London to service its international bond obligations from before World War II.
That's where Hitler got his money for World War II.
Stopped paying it out.
Stopped paying.
Well, I'd have a lot more money if I stopped paying my mortgage too.
Yeah, exactly. Or Obamacare.
So was this a financial war or a military war?
Hawk just realized that the sound works really well as I just coughed into the mic. Sorry, Hawk.
That's okay. It's just because I've had
Okay.
So that's interesting. Tom Hillman says the UK is about to finish paying off debts from the South Sea bubble financial crash in 1720.
What?
Jeremiah says, "Are you serious?" I have no idea what that is. So
I want to find that out.
Joking.
I
think that's
well, I don't know.
17.
Well, I'm thinking we probably owe a little bit from that little war in 1776 or so.
Yeah,
that we've never
paying that one back. Sorry.
To the victor goes the spoil.
Yeah.
Although I will say that France paid for it dearly. Because they 5 years after our independence or after our treaty.
Serious.
Do you think
Really?
England would want to levy some back taxes on us?
Well, they can try, but I really don't think that they want to. I have to say, as an Anglophile, that that no longer is held against us for the most part.
Actually, I think they blame King George.
Whoa, he's not kidding.
Really?
London, share prices went through the roof. Speculation ran wild and money poured into ill-fated ventures before the boom turned, inevitably and catastrophically to bust. After that financial crash in 1720, called the South Sea Bubble, the British government was forced to undertake a bailout that eventually left several million pounds of debt on its books. Almost 3 centuries later, Britons are still paying interest on a small part of that obligation.
What?
Who are they
To
paying?
whom?
Now, prompted by record low interest rates, the British government is planning to pay off some of the debts it racked up over hundreds of years, dating as far back as the South Sea Bubble. George Osborne, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, said this month that in 2015 Britain would repay part of the country's debt from World War I, and that he wanted to pay off other bonds for debt incurred in the 18th and 19th centuries. That includes borrowing that may have been used to compensate slave owners when slavery was abolished, to relieve the famine in 19th century Ireland, and to bail out the infamous South Sea Company, which caused the bubble in 1720. Economically, the move is no different from a homeowner's decision to refinance a mortgage at a lower rate, in an era where the government can borrow 1.5 for blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Who's the holder of the
So-
debt, though? That's what.
Yeah, I
confuses
mean, what
I'm
me.
trying to
state would
figure
still
out.
be intact now?
So this is the U.S.
So in many
in
cases,
150 years.
No,
Yeah.
no,
that's it. In many cases, the underlying debt has been refinanced, sometimes multiple times since being incurred. The bonds paying interest on the debt have been bought and sold and passed down through generations,
that's how
still
it is.
paying
Yes.
interest indefinitely
Yep.
until the government decides to pay them off. So old are some of the bonds that closing the books on them may require an act of parliament in some cases.
Okay,
Thank you for that,
Tom.
Jeremiah. That's
Or
awesome.
Jeremiah?
Yeah. Oh no, that was
That's
Tom
Tom.
Illman. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jeremiah Burns says, outstanding. So New Year's 2016 is going to be a hell of a blowout.
So that's where we are
Does
a
it
lot
mention
with.
who holds?
That's
sorry.
where we are with China a lot right now.
Right, and
Present-
Japan and
Yes.
EU,
You
but
mean that they owe us? Or
no, we owe them
them.
billions.
And so we are sending
They're floating our
lots-
debt.
we are sending lots of payments their way, and they are
When you
getting
hear
rich off it.
We're 16, 18 trillion dollars in immediate debt from our annual deficits piling up
Yes.
into debt. They hold a huge chunk of that.
Okay.
That's part of the reason why we don't do anything about all their human rights issues and everything else, as well as the business ventures. But also, they could try to say, "Oh, wait, you owe us."
Calling in?
Yeah, and if you do
Call.
if you look at all of our promised spending, it's over $100-something trillion. In what do they call it? Unfunded obligations or liabilities, whatever.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
insane.
I don't like the total number as much as the
immediate.
kind of the annual.
Well, it's
running
right. Well, the
running
total is
tab.
based on what we plan to
Yeah.
spend. If we don't turn around and our
Right.
GDP doesn't improve, then
Right.
that's what our debt will become if we don't turn
Yeah.
it around. 100-something trillion, and that's why. Anyway, so it's all relevant. It's interesting.
Democracy.
And back to it's all
at
good
its
for Greece and
best.
democracy and rule of the mob.
Democracy
I'm going
at
to
its
summarize
best.
this in the notes. Can I just
Mob rule.
Republic.
Tom Hillman. So 300 years from now, our descendants will be discussing the final payments of the too big to fail buyout of 2008. Oh, they should have just been allowed to fail. It's baloney. They're too big to fail. Bull.
Fannie Mae. Freddie
We
Mac.
should just deal with the pain.
Mhm.
Well, it was more than Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. That was just the housing market. There was the whole
The car industries.
and the insurance companies
The
and all of it.
insurance
Was,
companies.
yeah, all of them.
Banks.
It was ridiculous.
Banks, yeah.
Yeah.
PBS was doing
So
Frontline. Was talking about that, and they were talking about the guys who were kind of responsible for it were calling each other and saying, "Ha, these guys think."
yeah, now
they
they
know what
and
we're
it sets a
doing."
precedent that there's no consequences for doing stupid stuff.
Can I
All
just
right, so-
bring us back
yes,
to something
yes,
else
yes,
that's
yes.
mentioned in letter 94?
Please.
I just have to say, I feel that I just want to go on record as saying that I think Tolkien's description of this it's beautiful.
Scene was
It's
gorgeous. Yeah,
heartbreakingly beautiful.
the frost and
I
everything.
mean, I could just really picture this, and it just
Yeah.
reminds us of how good a writer he was. That even in a letter to his
Wordsmith.
son, and he's really, I mean, he's trying to tell his son about something that he knows his son would
Trying to
appreciate.
share the feeling of it through
Yes.
his words, through a letter.
And
What a
we,
master wordsmith.
all these years later, 60, 70 years later, are reading his words about this winter and about the ice and
Mhm.
the frost, the hoarfrost.
and taken to that moment.
And yet,
Yep.
I would
Absolutely.
not
Through
have
time.
seen it.
Time travel.
I would not understand it having been a West Side transplant if it were not for a year and a half ago.
in Spokane, experiencing
Spokane,
cold.
yes. Well, specifically the hoarfrost.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's very
It's different.
unpredictable.
Yeah.
You know when we get it or not.
Well, the
And-
water has to be warmer than the air in order to get a.
Well, we've had a lot of fog this winter, but we haven't had a lot of the hoarfrost, and I think it's because you don't have a rapid cooling down. Because that's what you have to have, don't you? Where the fog is in the air, and then it's rapidly cooling down, and so it starts to freeze to the trees.
Yep.
So.
I've lived multiple places where it was just part of winter every winter.
I hear
Miss
that.
it.
I hear cherry harvests rely on that in order to get.
Because it's hard to get off your car, for one.
Well, anyway,
And the roads are deadly.
kudos to
I was on a motorcycle
Tolkien
and hit
for,
that dude.
you know,
on the
his
road. It was
descriptions.
scary. Yeah, it was amazing.
and I can see him in old rags hewing out old brambles. I mean, that's like awesome. Has anybody ever read the Susan Cooper books, The Dark is Rising? There's a character in there called the Traveler, and this just makes him sound like he's like an old hobo in his own garden. All right, so on to letter 95.
It's pretty short.
From a letter to Christopher Tolkien, 18th of January, 1945. I read till 11:50, browsing through the packed and, to me, enthralling pages of Stenton's Anglo-Saxon England, a period mostly filled with most intriguing question marks, capitalized. I'd give a bit for a time machine, But of course, my mind being what it is and wholly different from Stenton's, it is the things of racial and linguistic significance that attract me and stick in my memory. Still, I hope one day you'll be able, if you wish, to delve into this intriguing story of the origins of our peculiar people, and indeed of us in particular. For barring the Tolkien, which must long ago have become a pretty thin strand, you are a Mercian or Hwiccian of Witchwood on both sides.
Witchwood.
So his Tookish blood is thin.
Exactly. So isn't that awesome? I love the quote.
Yeah.
He says, "I'd give a bit for a time machine." I mean,
Yeah.
that's a great quote.
Oh yeah.
You
I
can
think
just see it.
that the being from Witchwood sounds interesting because the original meaning of that was probably literal. It was probably the wood where the witch lives.
And
I'm not
look,
sure about that.
and look.
Can you check that, please?
If you drop,
WYCH?
if you just drop the H,
Yep.
it's
Wickwood?
Wiccan.
Wiccan,
It's
the modern term.
the
for,
modern term.
I think that's a possibility, but
Yes.
I would say that it's
It's
speculative.
also a famous brewery. The Wickwood Forest is an area now covering a small part of rural Oxfordshire. Past centuries, the forest covered a much larger area, green with the grade of the past. Since cleared in favor of agriculture, villages, and towns. Forest areas fluctuated, blah, 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 blah. For agriculture, it was cleared during Britain's centuries under Roman rule, later reverted to forest. Looking for anything. Okay, which was derived from an Old English name, Wickwooda. So the name, the Wiccan, no, it's
Yes.
slightly different. Never mind. Yeah, from a tribe called Hwicce.
It's a
So he's
Celtic
saying they're derived from that. They're
Right.
related. So Huiccewudu, meaning wood of a tribe called the Wicca.
Yeah, I had a feeling it wasn't.
Wicca?
No. Well, it would sound similar.
They were the Anglo-Saxon people living in the area from sometime in the 6th century until the assimilation of the Old English peoples into the wider Middle English society.
Which is what Mercia is.
From
Is it
It's the Midlands of England.
Is it
It's
like,
really was what later on?
is it like close to a Wicker Man?
No, it has
would it
nothing
be-
to do with Wicca, or witches.
Wickery being my wife's maiden name.
Interesting. No, I think it's just a coincidence in this
Okay.
case. Yeah.
Phonetically.
Yeah. Right. Which goes back to Harry Bells and Harebells. So,
Blame the French.
right. So I haven't read this. Has anybody seen this author, Stenton, Anglo-Saxon England?
Chris was
heard of it.
mentioning I gotta pick that up.
I have to go look for it.
I think it'd be. I mean, it's probably on Google
You've been
Books.
on your
I
list.
have found a way to get resources from the University of Washington Library and look at them at the downtown library.
Oh, without having to go to Cheney?
Interlibrary.
Because you know the Washington
Yeah.
State Archives are at Cheney now, at
Right.
EWU.
But yes, but the downtown library has the ability to have specific rare books
Okay, cool.
lent from other universities. You can't take them home with you,
Right,
but you can
Right.
look
Cool.
at them
Very
there.
cool.
Did they make you wear gloves?
Well, I think Tolkien would make a lousy Time Lord, because if he could take a TARDIS back in time, he would simply be sitting on the sides, taking copious notes and saying, "Oh, jolly good," as the Saxons beat each other into full.
No, not necessarily. He might be criticizing them on their pronunciation.
That's true.
What? Little Beowulf homage.
So I guess that's mostly it. So yeah, looking up Stenton. So can I just double check here? The things that we want to follow up on is the Finnish K versus C
Yes.
in Kirith Ungol.
Mhm.
And the other thing, well, we resolved the issue of the beard. Well, we resolved that Círdan had a beard, the elves sometimes had beards. However, we have not resolved whether or not there is in fact an existing elvish word for beards.
Forebeard, yeah. We
For
don't
beards.
know
So
that.
we submit as a possibility Nangwa Lokse, unless of course it refers to the
Goddamn.
neck beard, which would be Yacht Lokse.
First word of Beowulf.
And And we also are going to try to find out anything about Stenton's Anglo-Saxon England. Anything else that we have to research for next time?
Anyone? Anyone?
That fucking sounds. Just because Tolkien said he thoroughly enjoyed it makes me think it's pretty dry.
Oh, come now. Jeremiah says, I actually saw someone doing a piece on old books on the BBC, and they said wearing gloves a lot of the time is problematic because you don't have the fine dexterity and accidents are more likely from torn pages, etc.
Interesting.
Sorry, random tangent. Oh, well.
The British
Oh, well
Museum.
done, Tom.
The British Library, however, does require you to wear gloves as far as I know.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I think. However, I might be wrong on that one. When I was at the local Museum of Arts and Culture, the archives there, his name escapes me now. But when I originally went there to look at some old manuscripts that they have, for example, Spokane Gary's Bible that he brought back from the River Mission, which was published in 1801, they made me wear gloves. But the second time I came there, I didn't have to wear gloves. And I don't know if that's because they recognized me, it was not the first time I'd been there, or if it was because they were low on funding and just didn't buy enough gloves.
Jeremiah's pointing out that Tom posted a link to a PDF of the text Tolkien cited. It is Anglo-Saxon England, a bibliographical handbook for students of Anglo-Saxon history.
Hey, thanks, Tom.
It's under www.asnc, that's Nancy Charlie, .cam, that's Charlie Alpha Mary, .ac, that's Alpha Charlie, .uk, /resources, /a, S as in Sam, H, IST, BIB, 06.pdf.
Is it
That's mostly for
possible?
the benefit of those who watch the recording.
Yeah, is it possible to append that to the video? I mean, like,
Can you open the hyperlink right now?
I can do it as, I don't know if I can do an overlay in the Hangout. I can do it after the fact.
Well, I mean, after the fact. I was
Yeah,
just
that's
thinking,
kind of what I
But
was.
let me see if there's any
we could
way
then
with all
put it
the
in the notes, perhaps.
features. I mean, there's
That'd be very
screen share,
valuable
but
to
I
have
don't
that,
want to screen share right now.
Sorry, I'm talking over you.
Control room. I'm sure there's a feature for doing it, but I have no idea. I'll tell you what, I'll post it. There's comments happening on the web page for this broadcast, the actual on the plus.google /plus Tolkien Scholars. So there you can add a comment to the Hangout. Externally, it's on the page. That's for the link. I'll put it there so people can see that. I'll put it down here too.
Well, did anybody online have any other comments? We're going to be finishing up pretty soon here.
Well,
We
we're
had
going
a
to talk administrative
few topics that we're going to kind of
which
get
we would
into
welcome your input.
for sure. So shall we kind of segue into that?
Yes, please.
Okay, I think it's over here.
So one is where we're going to meet in the future.
Right. So
I don't
we're
know if
gonna,
anybody has
Chris, we
anything workable.
So we're currently not as welcome as we used to be.
Well, they said it's a policy now that nobody can make reservations in the back room of Rocket.
So they're not exactly saying we can't
Well, they
come.
claim that, but that was after they knew which group it was, so I don't know. Anyway, we can no longer reserve a room in the back area, and that's why we couldn't do it today, because especially Valentine's Day. But it's problematic. If we can't reserve the space, it's a problem.
Yeah.
So we have to figure out a new location to meet, because one of the things we want is that walk-in. We've had a number of people join. Yeah, Richard and the father and daughter
Dave.
last month, and several others.
But Hawk, what about? I mean, I think this is related to the next question about the green screen, because you know you've got some great
Smaller portable thing, but yeah.
Okay, I'm just pointing out something that it depends on what you want to do, because it seems to me like we're even with the stuff that you normally bring in terms of not only books for perhaps, but
yeah, there's a lot
but
of
also
around.
sure you've got your sound equipment now,
Right.
you've got your laptops and everything,
All
and
that
so
stuff.
we don't want you to have to so if you're bringing these things. I mean, if you want to do something that would involve a green screen, would that not be easier here?
All of it is easier here. I mean, because of bringing the books.
For example,
and
that thing is a
everything.
bit large to look around.
Yeah, and I don't know that I have to have the big mixer. I do have to have the Wi-Fi thing. The big mixer, I'm not sure. I got that mixer for free, so this is the first time just to see if
Hey,
it
why not?
worked. I got it from a teacher at Eastern who went, find a power cord for this, you can have it. So I found a power cord.
Okay.
Wow.
It works.
Wow. Say no more.
It's a 16-channel mixer. So.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I'm going to actually listen to this broadcast because it's one of those things where I'll enjoy listening to it, knowing that our audio is so good. And I'm really, really thankful that, Jeremiah, for example, come back to check us out.
Yeah.
Haven't heard from Ardemir at all, have we?
No, neither.
Which is
Elliot
kind of,
or Ardemir.
It's
He may not be
atypical.
aware that it's back on.
Possible. I think is he on the list?
They are, but who knows if something came up.
That's true.
So,
It is Valentine's Day weekend.
even in Finland?
The Finnish love too.
Okay. I just don't know.
I'm sorry, I had to say that.
I don't know if they celebrate the massacre the same way.
Wow.
Massacre?
Wow.
Yeah.
A one-person massacre.
Yes.
A little bit of an exaggeration.
I think of it.
Valentine died on this day, is what he's saying.
Now wait a minute.
Cheeky monkey.
Mass singular.
Get out of here.
Well, I tend to think of it as National Insanity Day. That's-
Well, anyway, it is an old custom, and I don't know if the Finns celebrate it. But then I'm not the half Finnish one here. Hint, hint.
Oh, you mean me? Yeah, I'm half Finnish.
Know thy
half,
roots.
half Finnish, half Irish.
Know thy roots, man. Anyway.
the Irish.
Yeah, so yeah, it's
So-
certainly, once I get the house settled from the construction,
Right now it's not
I
the
am
easiest
going to be
time.
setting up a dedicated area for broadcasting because I'll be doing weekly for the Spartan Show's Adventure.
So
Deal
maybe
anyway.
are you saying, hey,
So
guys,
you're suggesting doing it just me at my house?
well, but if it would be better somewhere else for the meantime, and then we're kind of looking towards possibly.
Well, no,
moving
this
house.
I will be set up before next month because I have the weekly shows at the Spartan Show out in the valley, and I keep them to haul all my Game Master stuff out there.
Yeah.
So it's certainly a possibility. What do you guys feel? I mean, you guys want to come to my house each month for that? And
We can bring tea.
of course, you're welcome to.
Buy your coffee.
Versus,
Something like
I mean, how did you guys feel
Do we
about
wanna bring
meeting
tea in the cup or
the
out
feeling
the
of
cup?
meeting in a coffee shop versus coming to my house or something?
He would declare this is
Your
sorry.
reasons for practical reasons are excellent reasons. I totally agree with.
Yeah,
But there's also a feeling aspect of it,
it's
too.
it's the concept of do you want the walk-in or do you want the ability to do the broadcasting that you want to do? And so if you can create a setup for broadcast light
Mhm.
that's
Yeah, which
Good.
is that unit
I mean,
there,
that-
and this laptop here,
and that camera.
Kind of comes down
And
to.
use whatever lighting.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to.
Kind of
be.
comes
I don't have
down
bring
to:
the
do you
studio
want the
lighting.
walk-ins or do you want?
We can't do green
control
screen. Green screen requires lighting.
What's
Otherwise
that?
it doesn't work. What's that? Do I want walk-ins?
Do you want
we've
walk-ins
liked
or
it.
do you want controlled environment? That's kind
Both, of course.
Well, and the other
Spoken
thing
like a
is the other thing
master.
is bandwidth.
Yes, that's been a
Oh,
problem. We've had a lot of
yeah.
problems at different facilities. We use my phone. Right now it's actually running over my phone just fine. But different facilities, we've had places where there's no signal.
Yeah.
Zero signal. You know,
I really feel like the technology piece of this is the most important one, simply because
It's
of
greater
problems that
reach.
have come up at various.
Yeah,
I mean,
greater reach.
I like Rocket Bakery in Garland, but the problem there is you've got the old.
So
models.
one of the things I did just a few weeks ago is I created a new meetup group. I did a quick search on meetup.com for Tolkien groups.
Yep.
There are zero.
Yeah.
Zero. There's all sorts of gaming groups and knitting and all this other stuff. Zero Tolkien groups
I
on
went-
meetup. So
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of relevant.
Yeah.
I go to this sci-fi writers group.
Okay.
Once a month.
Right. Yeah, I've
And
seen
I
that on
ran into
meetups as well.
somebody there. I told her I'm a member of Tolkien Society and we broadcast every month. She said, "There's something like that here in Spokane."
Right,
My
yeah.
husband would go
Right.
nuts. You know?
Yeah. Well, I just created a few weeks ago and people are starting to join. There's 3 or 4 people
A meetup.
through meetup.com. And so that's letting people know through another venue. I mean, I'm already on, oh my goodness, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, MySpace, Pinterest, YouTube, Google+.
Now you need a third-party app that will send
Meetup.
one notification to all of them.
There are. Linux has a
Yes.
bunch of them.
Maybe just
But-
a database to keep track of all the.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, I'm on everything I can find,
Yeah.
and yet it still doesn't, it still takes time for the word to get around. And I used to, part of this consistency, definitely.
Yep.
We keep moving the dates around, we keep moving locations around, etc.
I think wherever we are, if
There we are.
can, I think
Whatever it is, consistency is necessary.
I can't criticize that because you just gave me very good tea, so I'll let that slide. But I will say that wherever we are, if we're consistent, I think people come.
Yes. And that's been my experience with all the other groups and community groups I've set up is every time you move, you lose people.
So
Every
really,
time you
I think it has
stabilize,
to
it
do with
helps.
your comfort level of having people,
Strangers show up at
strangers
my
in your
house,
house,
which also includes my kids' comfort level because they're not too happy about this.
Right.
Yeah. And again, if I have it down out of their way so they can do their thing without it being invasive, I don't think they care that much. But my plan was to have it all set up in my game room because of the weekly sessions for the Spartan Shows Adventures Guild, where I'm Dungeon Master. And if we can get the green screen and the lighting and all that to work, I won't have to haul my stuff over to the Spartan's studio every time to set up. He can just green screen me into the overall scene, and the latency is really low through Twitch TV, so I could DM from there, and all my books are there, and I don't have to haul them. And then once that's set up, then I can do all sorts of different broadcasts from there, including this one without a problem. And you know the game room down there. I've got the chairs and the table and all of that.
Okay, so
it's a possibility, but I wanted to know how you guys felt about it because it's important.
I would miss the coffee, but I could always stop at a coffee shop.
Yeah, I don't have an espresso machine, but I do have a coffee machine.
I'm bad again. I'm bad again.
Get a straw and blow through.
Yeah, that's
And you call yourself
my bringing coffee versus that is not an issue.
Could you move the bird, please? That's really loud.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was probably a response to my.
It's just consistency and regularity, and I'm easy.
Okay. Comments from the Peanut Gallery online.
Can they get upgraded
where,
to become
Tom,
a cashew
Tom, where
garden?
are you? Where are you writing from? I'm just curious where Tom's coming.
Yeah, where are you, Tom?
Where are you in real time in space?
Real space.
So comments that have been made during this time.
I know Jeremiah's from the north of England.
Jeremiah says, cool, thanks, Tom. Yeah, I was glad to hear that I perhaps not missed as much as I have thought I have. I've been out of it since before Christmas doing some studies. Oh my, Eru just noticed Hawk's throne and wondered why he's not drinking from my monkey skull or something equally trophy-like and impressive. Tom Hillman, it's a very impressive throne. An orc skull would be more in context. Jeremiah, it would. Tom Hillman, an Ugluk mug. Jeremiah, laugh out loud. And then I'm off in my mind with Merry and Pippin with the Uruks. Can't take his medicine. Tom Hillman, just don't eat any of the food. Jeremiah, certainly not the meat. Tom, maybe you could gnaw the bread a little. Jeremiah, I always wondered about that bread. It was gray, was it not? Which, well, not sure I've ever seen gray bread. Tom, and you
Gray beard.
bread. Tom Hillman, and you probably don't want to. Jeremiah, it's all about your throne. Tom, Long Island, New York. What? Where did oh, that's where Tom is. Okay, I was like, yeah, exactly.
Long Island, New York.
Long Island, New York. Okay, great.
That's where the
well, welcome.
No.
Yeah, this is from Indonesia. So, I guess I could switch camera angle for those who know.
And the thing is, you can't see the impressive lion heads that he's resting his arms upon.
Indeed.
He's about to take off.
How well
Anyway.
put together is that thing?
Quite. And it's actually a lot lighter than it looks, even though it's good.
Good stuff.
Is it
I think it's a teak wood or something.
Yeah.
It's strong but light.
IndonesiaThrones.com.
Yeah.
It's strong but light.
It's,
So it's bulky,
Well,
but it's not
mahogany
too
is
heavy.
native to that area.
Yeah, I don't think it. I don't know. I got it from the state place. Anyway,
Okay.
so are we going to next week do here then for now, if and until we find
Next
somewhere
month?
better?
Yes.
That doesn't bother me.
March is fine.
How do you feel about that?
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if it bothers you that I come to your house.
I have no problem. No, I'm fine with it. Okay,
So what about
for
the-
next month we will do it at Hawk's house again,
All right.
if and until we find someplace better.
Can
But
we
keep
call
your
it
eyes and ears
Hawks
open.
Eyrie?
Well, I have already a domain Hawks Haven, but
Hawks Haven. I'm just thinking it's it's a Hawks.
or Hawks Nest.
Hawks Nest.
Mhm.
Okay.
Let's stay away from the eagle's nest.
Right.
Mhm.
What about
Okay.
the current
Tolkien
current status of Middle Earth Radio's audio music streams? Do you want to put that
Oh.
for next time, or Talk about
So let me just very briefly. So I had a hard drive failure on the system that sends the streams to the server. So the server itself that everybody connects to is fine out at Liberty Lake at Tacoma. But the system here, and it wasn't the archives. All the music, I still have all the music digitized. But the drive that controls the operating system died, and so I have to do a full OS reinstall. And even though it's RAID array, it needs to be updated and reinstalled. I just haven't taken the time to swap that out. So that's why it's been down. It's been down for months. It's just I've been overloaded.
I haven't noticed.
Yeah, but I've been getting the occasional email, about one a week, from different people going, please put the stream back on, please put the stream back on. Right. So Middle Earth Radio is 4 different streams. Mm-hmm. There's a kind of all stream where it's just like a little bit of everything. There's the classical and Celtic and New Agey kind of mellow stream of mellow music. Yep. There's the just all talk. It's readings, it's talk shows, it's all Tolkien related.
Which
talk.
You've done with like past ones,
right? And many others. Not just my shows, other shows, and all sorts of like book readings, whatever.
Sure.
And then finally a heavy metal rock version. All the rock variants. There's a lot of Tolkien-inspired rock music. Led Zeppelin has like 5 songs that are directly Tolkien, and I've talked about that a number of times on Middle Earth Radio, talk radio. So there's that, and there's also Middle Earth Talk Show, which Michael Martinez and I have done sporadically. There's over 50 shows, and that's on Middle Earth Talk.com. But anyway, Middle Earth Radio, the streams are still down. I apologize for that. Which camera? Camera 1? Camera 2. Okay, camera 2. I apologize for that. It is something that it's basically a whole weekend project to get that back up and running, because I need to find a drive. I have drives lying around, but I need to find one that's in good shape. So let's just do it again.
I've got a brand new one I can lend you.
Yeah, no, I don't need a loaner. It's got to be, anyway, I'll find it eventually, but yeah. I need to install it, do a fresh OS install, and that's easy. That's not difficult. It's all the software and configuration that I set up for all of the playlists. The playlists are gone that control which were on which streams. It took me weeks to sort out over 20,000 different audio files for those 4 different streams to be sorted. Yeah, it is 3 o'clock now.
Well,
so
we're not quite done yet.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got a WordPress plugin that might be helpful in that.
How so?
If you did WordPress, but
I just wondered if we could maybe continue this offline. So you're going to give us a brief rundown on the Tolkien Moot.
So Tolkien Moot is now consistently the 3rd weekend of each July. So now it's not going to be moving all over the place, as I mentioned earlier. So that will make it this year the 17th, 18th, and 19th. So that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of July 2015. And the theme is giants. We need to get game masters to start signing up. There's myself and a few others that, it's really hard for me to run a table and run the convention. Yeah. So it's better if we have, but we try to get 4 or 5 game masters. So there's 4 or 5 different tables running different systems. We've had the One Ring role-playing game, Middle Earth role-playing, Dungeons and Dragons adapted to Middle Earth, GURPS, Savage Worlds, and some others over the years, and it just each year it varies. The RSVP is already up for, people who want to RSVP for the convention as a player or a volunteer or a game master. Go ahead and go to TolkienMoot, all one word, .org. In the upper right-hand corner, there's RSVP. Or you can just do /RSVP and you'll get straight there. You fill out the form, indicate how you want to participate. It's still a free event. It's still going to be at my house. Although now the audio broadcast equipment will be that much better because last year was really rough. It did not go well with the equipment,
so it'll be
and the construction will be all done. So that whole basement, torn out ceiling, and that'll all be done before that. Now I'll have a really nice master bathroom. So we will do it again. There's limited seating, of course, since it is in my house. We can handle about 20, 30 people. After that, it becomes problematic. So it's good if people start RSVPing now and planning ahead, and so getting the word out about that. So the giant theme, that's about all we know so far. So input is welcomed for ideas like a time period, setting, location. What does giant mean? Is an ant considered a giant? Is a troll considered a giant? Is a giant, is it only giants that are giant? What about a dragon? There's all sorts of possibilities. Does it mean everything that's giant above man size, or is it specifically giants? Yeah, exactly. And Peter Jackson totally did wonky stuff with. They were the mountain, basically. So that, and I will try to do a little research and maybe even do an essay, do a little talk about it if I have
But you
time.
could also slip into other minds, couldn't you?
Yes,
That'd be nice.
definitely. That'd be nice, yeah. And we're on, I think, issue 13 or 14 is out now. Thomas did something. I come out of this before. I would not have noticed. He had 300 pages of content. He published the whole thing.
Right.
I would have spread that out over 4 issues or something, because that is just a massive tome. If I ever try to print that issue out, it's going to have to be in separate volumes. But so really, please do comment on ideas.
And can I ask, before we finish, what people would just to go around and say, what do you think is the greatest love story in Tolkien's Legendarium, since it is Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
So I guess I would say that there's a lot of different interesting ones, and to include also, I mean, we could include friendships. I was thinking specifically romance stories. I think Tolkien, although he doesn't have a lot of female protagonists, he does a great job with Beren and Luthien, so it's still my favorite. Anybody else?
Yeah, I love the Beren and Luthien thread.
I still think it would make a great movie, but I know that's not going to happen.
Really? Well, why not? Why not? I mean, you had the volunteer community that got away with both.
Right.
Hunt for Gollum. And
it could happen as a fan film, but you've got a lot more demand on the special effects, which is where they can't put the money up for it, which is where.
But Hunt for Gollum and Born of Hope did really well as what they are through community release and such.
Yeah.
And that's how it needs to be done. I think a lot more of it needs to be done that way.
It's possible. What does everybody else think?
And it wouldn't have all the corruption of the others.
I'd be more loyal.
Yeah.
Anybody else here?
Favorite love story in Tolkien?
I'm more bitter about Valentine's Day than anything else.
Okay, so apply that to Tolkien. What about the Dark Elf?
The thing that
and his bitterness.
The Peter Jackson,
all of
the Peter Jackson films,
Gondolin because of his bitterness.
Have a lot of problems with them. But the thing that leaps to my mind is the scene with Aragorn and Arwen on the bridge, and she's giving him that jewel. And what's glossed over is the significance of the jewel. I think that she's elven, and everything they do is magical. So she's put a bit of herself in
her life
that jewel.
Essence, right?
So she's giving
her immortality.
She's giving him herself, and it's a promise. It's a badge. Other elves would instantly know what that means,
So you think it's a significant section there?
Yeah.
Now that's in the movie. I'm trying to recall whether in the books it actually has them on a bridge, and does Arwen give him the elf stone?
I don't recall anything.
She does give the elf stone in the books.
But I don't remember any specific scene.
Yeah, because I
don't know if that was derived from some of the other stuff that came.
But he was called LSR elf stone.
Yes, he was.
Okay, Chris.
What about Sam's wife?
Yeah,
Rosie Cotton. That was sweet. That was sweet. That was.
Why that one? Why do you like that?
Well, the idea of allowing Sam to go out for so long of an adventure.
Well, they weren't married.
No, they weren't.
I know, but there was that knowing.
Part of it, don't you think, is that he didn't have the courage to pursue her until he had gone through the
right. And then he went, I'm going.
Yes.
Well, the Peter Jackson version threw him out.
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit of my story is that it took me 11 years to marry my high school sweetheart. So I identify with Sam a little bit there.
And when you take the scouring of the Shire out, then that whole thing is less significant. But when you put it back in,
then he's a local hero, not just off
he
the
is,
land.
And he's helping her
relate.
dad, Farmer Cotton.
Yeah.
So there's a really cool story.
And they can relate to that circumstance versus often
Way more,
right.
some strange foreign land.
Yeah, he did something.
What does that matter to us?
He did something over the ocean.
Right, in Afghanistan or something. What does that matter to us? You know.
Right.
And yeah.
Whereas if you say, yeah,
like
something local.
the city is raised, it's then you help stop the torture and destruction. Like,
Yep.
wow, that's a local hero. That's much more tangible. And I like that it's not an epic love, like Beren and Luthien.
It's a
and
standard everyday.
right, and Arwen and Aragorn.
And they have
these-
kids.
What's that? And yeah, and they have
You know,
children.
it is. It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
it's normal.
And it's not tragic love. It's
There's plenty of those as well.
it's very cute and sweet and endearing and touching and accessible.
Oh, and that just reminded me in the Silmarillion of lame Brandir, who loves he loves Turin's sister, but doesn't know who she is, and of course she doesn't remember either. She's got amnesia, and of course there's the whole thing with is it Glaurung who
the
deceives
dark
her.
dragon,
Yeah. And so that's a sad story, but I always feel bad for Brandir because
Right.
Turin kills him.
Right, yeah.
You know, there's a triangle for you.
Yeah. Comments. Let's see. About everything we just covered, then we need to wrap up a little over, but we actually started late, so. They were continuing on about the throne. Jeremiah says, show off, I've got a 6-year-old daughter. I need a throne like that for when she comes of dating age. Just sit there waiting, looking impressive. Like, so you want to date my daughter, do you?
Let's get a knife sharpening set, Jeremiah. I've got a spear from South America that I keep in my in my living room.
Really? I missed that.
Tom
I've
says,
got a
Bad boy
3-year-old and a 357 West Smith and Wesson.
I have a plethora of instruments and firearms. I have many. Tom, when that day comes, Jeremiah, don't forget the mace. It makes all the difference.
Which kind of mace, I wonder?
Dwarvish.
Both.
What about a
Jeremiah,
scepter?
dual purpose. Jeremiah, well, I do have several replica swords from the Lord of the Rings films. Granted, they're only wall hangers and not battle ready, but it doesn't mean that her date will know that. Tom, and you will only have to hit him once. Jeremiah, well, as Tolkien was so vague with his almost singular reference to giants in The Hobbit, it's pretty open-ended. I think I've got to go with Beren and Luthien as far as the love story. So 2 topics there, giants, and then Tom and Hillman, also Beren and Luthien. Jeremiah, well, I should stick a poll on the site, shouldn't I?
To a fleet giant.
Yeah, excuse me. And Jeremiah Burns, it's hard to talk Beren willingly going into what he probably felt was certain death in facing a god to reclaim the unreclaimable, all for his love of his lady. Except that it is that epic love versus the accessible.
And those are the 2 sides of Tolkien.
Yeah,
and very much he wanted
His
to have that
dichotomy.
sense of the Shire,
Yes.
of the ordinariness. But notice what's inscribed on their tombstones.
Yes, here lie Beren and Luthien.
Yes.
Well, because remember, he was no longer allowed to see her when they found out they were interested. They were forbidden, and he did not see her until
I never
they came
thought
of
of that
age.
connection.
Yeah, until they
You'd
came of
think they were
age.
saying,
He had to come back as a man
Yeah.
to be allowed.
talk
and then
about a
the
father,
day-
Jeremiah. Talk about a father saying, "Oh no, you don't." Try to think of the worst father-in-law you could ask for.
The day he came of age, boom, asked for her hand in marriage. and
Wow.
such. Yeah.
This is the same Thingol who married the Maya.
Yeah.
So he's being a bit double standard there, isn't he?
Sort of.
Tom Hillman says no bridge regarding the Elfstone and such. Jeremiah Burns.
This is a movie only.
No bridge, no Elfstone, but Galadriel gave him a stone.
That's
Which may
worse.
have come from Arwen. My memory's fuzzy there.
Right. That's at the presentation.
Yeah.
And
Tom, no, I don't think it came from Arwen. Pretty sure it did not.
Okay.
Jeremiah, but
Right.
it's not as though it was directly linked to Arwen's mortality. Yeah. It was simply a pale green stone, as I recall, and he took the name long meant for him, Elfstone.
Right, because
I
it had
think-
been prophesied before that.
I think you're right, Tom, but I can't understand Jackson trying to give a visual representation on screen. I can understand him
Oh,
doing that.
right.
Though I did get confused by the Vision Dream, whatever, in Return of the King film when Arwen's
she
pendant
sees the
dropped and
child.
shattered.
Oh, that one.
Right.
Mm.
Tom, yes, I can understand it. I can also understand him wanting to make the Aragorn-Arwen relationship more noticeable. I just did not like the way he did it.
Right.
And
Agreed.
Jeremiah Burns, Thingol was a bit of a jerk. Thingol might have been the ones that kept him apart from.
Well,
from
Steve
his
Jackson
wife.
had painted
Tolkien's
himself
wife.
into a corner because he got rid of Galadriel character.
Yeah.
So he had to. Um,
And
Her
Tom,
brother,
just you
her
remember
brother.
that when a suitor for your daughter shows up, Jeremiah, now don't use my words against me about being a jerk,
Oh.
being a jerk to Baron.
Yeah. Oh, don't apply to me. Right?
Yeah, so don't. Yeah.
Well,
apply to me?
we should call that.
We should, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
yes. So, why don't you give your
Cameras.
standard ending?
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Remember, we're here generally every second Saturday of each month from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific time. TolkienScholars.org. That's all one word. Tolkien Scholars, although I have the singular version as well for the domain. .org is where you can get updates, information. On there also are links to our YouTube channel, which all this is archived. You can see all our previous meetings as well as our convention meetings from Tolkien Moot. And information on Middle-earth Radio and Middle-earth Talk, all of the different social network links so you can follow postings. And we also have an email list that you can join that lets us have local discussions that are more private to just the group rather than all over the web. And all of that's on the website as well.
March 14th.
And so we will see all of you again next month. It will be here at my house. If you are local and want to attend, contact me in advance. The information is also on the TolkienScholars.org website. Thank you, Chris, Richard, Brian, and Jeremiah, and Tom, all of you for participating. This is always wonderful. We get all this interaction. And wherever you may be well. Namarie.